Hey, this is Kevin Kelly, and you are listening to the Stardom Cast.
This is Jesse from Club Venus from Stardom, and you're watching Stardom Cast.
Hello guys and welcome to the Stardom Cast, your weekly audio source of all things World Wonder Ring Stardom. I'm your host, Rob Goodwin, and I'm joined as ever by Mr. Matt Turner. Matt Turner, how are you?
Rob Goodwin, I am fantastic, and I just want to do a quick apology to our Patreon members as this episode's coming out a few hours later than normal. My work schedule cut into our recording schedule, and I'm not going to lie, Rob, I told my billion-dollar company that I work for, I said, look, brother, that does not work for me. I pulled a Hulk Hogan. I said, do you not understand that I cannot do this? That is the time that I record my podcast, and they said, who do you record your podcast with? And I said, well, good sir, I record my podcast with the author of the book, Living the Dream, Stardom's 10th anniversary in review, Mr. Rob Goodwin. But all joking aside, again, apologies, and I appreciate the fantastic Patreon members, as I know this will be dropping a little bit later than normal. But brother, I am fantastic. This past weekend, I wrestled at another comic book convention. And I was very humbled that I wrestled in front of maybe 15 people. But I'm doing well, brother. I'm doing well.
I must admit, from the photos that you posted on social media, it didn't look like a sellout. It didn't quite look like a 15 people venue, but it didn't look like a sellout. You and Andy Hedder, though, you look like you were having the time of your life, as always.
Yeah, I'll give you the little insider information as I always do. So this place, the resort that the Comic Con was being taken place at, was about a half an hour away from my house. So I get to the resort and there's all sorts of different places to go. It took me about an hour and a half to figure out what I needed to do and where I needed to go once I got into the place. So 3 times as much once I got into the resort as it is for me to go to my house, the actual place. It's like, no, you have to go here. No, you got to get your badge to get into the con, even though it wasn't part of the con. And then we're looking for all these signs that, like, okay, this is one part of the con, but where's the wrestling? So finally, just between me and Lily and calling back and forth with Andy Hedder, we kind of figured it all out. And then, like, where's the wrestling? We just happened to bump into one of the other fellow wrestlers. Was like, yeah, you got to go up that stairs, make a left, and you have to go through the 2 restaurants. Now, Rob, it'd be one thing if you got to go through these 2 restaurants to go to the back room for the wrestling. If these restaurants were open and there was actually people there, that I can use my phenomenal sales ability to take the people maybe away from their dinner to come and see the wrestling. Turns out it wasn't on the promotion's fault at all. Turns out the con really wanted the wrestling. Now, this is the same wrestling company that when they do the annual comic book convention shows that they draw well over 600 people. This comic book convention was like, yes, we want you guys at the convention. However, the owners of the resort wanted nothing to do with wrestling whatsoever, to the point where they were trying to cancel them last minute. They tried to up the insurance, tell them they weren't going to have a doctor, but the company, outsmarted them, had their own doctor. To the point when I got there, they were putting chairs, as you would, Rob, you've seen a wrestling show or 2 in your day. They were putting chairs up into the venue, and then the people that ran the venue were like, no chairs, standing room only, because there's going to be about 500 people here. And I'm like, there's no way there's going to be 500 people here. I'm like, I'll be shocked if there was 50. And there was about 15. Now, luckily for me, it was myself and Andy in a tag team wrestling the Diamond City War Machines, 2 of our very, very good friends, Bruno and Eric. And like I always say on this podcast, you hit your friends harder than you normally would hit somebody else. Obviously, we didn't go out there and kill each other. But I'll say this, Rob, for only 15 people, we had that place rocking. And it was nice that after our match, every single one of the boys came up to each and every one individually and said how much they enjoyed their match. So we turned a negative into a positive. all in all, Rob, good win. A fun time was had by all. Andy Header and myself won the tag team trophies as you saw from that picture. But by no means a sold out venue, but we had a good time.
Yes, and congratulations on those trophies. I imagine they are up there in prestige with the likes of the World Tag League and, of course, the currently going Goddess of Stardom Tag League. What have these trophies got names, or are they just Comic-Con Tag League trophies or Tag Team Match trophies? It wasn't even a league.
They were actually the tag team trophies that Andy and I were supposed to win last year in the tournament, but that's the show that I hurt my foot. And I was like, no, I can go 2 more matches. Not a problem. I'll just sell and hot tag the header. And they were like, absolutely not. We're just going to change everything around. You're done. Like the owner of the promotion and the doctor was like, absolutely not. Like, no, I'm fine. So this was like kind of their make do of what happened last year. And again, Bruno and Eric were very more than gracious to be like, if it wasn't you guys, just because they had the same problems that we did, about an hour and change to find out where they needed to go. Like if it wasn't, we weren't wrestling you guys, we would have literally just put the trophies on a table somewhere, called the promoter, and like pick them up and you give them to who you need to give to. So they were more than gracious to be like, here, these are supposed to be yours a year ago. So yeah, that was it. It was the 2022 basically the tag league. So we would have won the tag league the same year as a 7-Up. So I guess this is my formal challenge, Rob Goodwin, to me and Andy challenging you and Nene Takahashi, which is, I guess maybe we'll get into when we talk about what's going on Patreon for next month. So, I mean, it's a possibility.
I mean, absolutely. I hope you realize, though, in your challenge to 7-Up, there are a couple of caveats that must come with that challenge. The first is that no matter what you throw at you, she is not selling. Like, you can hit her with you can hit that woman with a bus. She is not going to sell. So that's straight. That's something that is very much written into the match contract. And something else as well is that, yes, they have no issue losing to you, but they will only lose via really, really convoluted count-out. So those are basically your options, brother. Either get buried or win via count-out. I hope those are okay terms.
I wouldn't have it any other way than defeat the former Goddess of Stardom champions via count-out, which is the best way to win a match.
Oh God, absolutely. So obviously, the last time we spoke to you, I announced that I was going to go to my first wrestling school class, as held by Flash Morgan Webster, formerly of NXT UK, and I believe one of the current Impact Tag Team Champions. They may have dropped them at Bound for Glory. I don't know. But they definitely have been. Him and Mark Andrews definitely have been the Impact Tag Champs. TNA, as they are soon to become, as we found out the other week. But unfortunately, to the surprise of no one, I messed it up. So I thought to myself, looked to myself in the mirror, and that's never a good start, Matt. It's never a good start to look at yourself in the mirror, because then you realise that you look like a bin bag full of salad. So I was like, okay, right, I'll go for a run, just test out everything, make sure that I'm not going to die. Went for a run. Sure enough, it was a great run, Matt. Fantastic run, lovely day. I thought, you know what? I'm going to keep going. I'm going to have a lovely run. So 6K went by, 7K went by. I was like, yeah, I'm feeling good. Should probably turn round, though. Start heading back. So heading back, I'm on that final straight on the way to my house. It's flat as well, deceptively flat, some would argue. And sure enough, my calf went. I was like, oh, I do not believe this. And it started as just a little bit of cramp. And I think, stupid as it sounds, I'd trod on either a stone or some sort of stick. And because my foot hadn't landed flat, I got a shooting pain on my calf, and I was like, it's only cramp, I'll run it out. Which didn't help, and certainly did not work. And the closer I got to my house, the more I realised that I wasn't putting any weight on my right leg, and I was like, oh, God, I've balls this, haven't I? I've balls this. I stopped, stretched it out, and within 20 minutes, I was in absolute agony. So, sure enough, I was like, do you know what? I'm probably not going to go to wrestling. And I saw Kirsty's face just light up. I was like, what's up? She was like, oh, thank God. So what do you mean? You said you were okay with it? She was like, yeah, I was okay with it when you were going. Or I wanted to pretend that I was. I was afraid you were going to die. Now, Matt, I am a clumsy person. I'm sure I wouldn't have died at that first class.
No, Flash Morgan Webster, who was a world-class athlete, would not have allowed that to happen. Yeah, there's no way that they monitor things. I mean, you wouldn't have died. You wouldn't have died, sir. So you tell Kersey there was now again. There's no guarantees in life, but I will say that 99.999234599% chance you would have survived, my friend.
Just about survived. That'll do. I'll take that. Just about made it through. But yes, so unfortunately, I am on the shelf for a while. I'm not getting any younger, so whether that is the end of the very, very brief wrestling dream or not, we will find out. But speaking of dreams, Matt, speaking of wrestling dreams, I suppose we should probably start talking about some Stardom. So before we kick into the news and the lovely discourse whenever the PWI 250 comes out, what is coming up on our Patreon this week?
On the Patreon, folks, just a little bit of an update, a little programming note. Last week we were supposed to record with the one and only Allison Danger for our roundtable discussion, which was going to be top 5 all-time favorite female matches from myself, Allison, and one Rob Goodwin. Allison, however, not only did she get sick, her entire house is sick. There's danger in the danger house. See what I did there? So Allison came down with laryngitis, and us wrestlers, sometimes we're like, hey, you work through the injury. However, when you're talking and you can't talk, that's an injury you cannot avoid. So my immediate thought was, okay, I'll just have Allison just write in her top 5 favorite female matches, and Rob and I will we'll do our 5 and intertwine Allison's in. And then after I thought about for like 10, 15 minutes at that, no, we're not going to do that because Allison, she's very adamant. She wants to come back on the show to do this podcast. Said she was very excited to come back on, talk about this topic. So I didn't want to do that to her. Also, I did not want to do it to the fantastic listeners of the Stardom Cast Extra, the Patreon, as everybody loves having Allison on. And selfishly, for myself and Rob, we would want her on the show. So I know that was supposed to be scheduled for an October episode. We're going to I'm going to touch base with Allison this weekend to see when she can come on. That episode will not air until November. However, you are going to get the roundtable discussion in November that we had scheduled, which I will talk about in a moment. So just want to let everybody know that yes, the Allison Danger episode is coming, but it's going to be, instead of the month of October, the month of November, which is crazy because we're less than a week away into the month of November. So to close out the month of October, Rob Goodwin, we have not 1 but 2 alternate commentaries. This past week, we released the alternate commentary of Julia defending the Wonder of Stardom Championship against one Starlight Kid from Cork and Hall. And then coming up next week for our alternate commentary, we the finals, a little bonus episode for myself and Rob Goodwin, the finals of the 2023 5-Star Grand Prix, Suzuki versus Micah. Also on your Patreon feeds by the end of the month, I believe Sunday or Monday, this will drop, will be my review of Tam Nakano's 2021 5-Star Grand Prix. And thanks to everybody who voted for that, because there were some matches that I've never seen in that run, like her and Azumi. And then there's some matches I haven't seen in a while that just, I completely forgot how great, Tam's run was in the 5-Star Grand Prix 2 years ago. Matches with Utami, matches with Sherry, and that match with Takumi Aroha as well. And what I did too, Rob, since every single one of these matches took place in 2021, what I did is I watched all the matches, gave my star rating, and then went back into your book, Living the Dream, Stardom's 10th anniversary in review, and then gave your star rating. And every single one of the matches, we were either spot on or a quarter of a star off, except for one match, which was, and I'm sure you have not seen this match in probably the better part of 2 years, was Tam and Azumi. I had it 4.5 stars, and you had it at 3.5 stars. So when that episode does drop, I did mention at the very end, if people would like to comment on what your star rating is on Tam versus Azumi, just to kind of get an idea of who was closer. But as always, my friend, there is no wrong answer. So, folks, that is everything that is going to close out the month of October. And we may as well, since we're talking about Patreon, Rob, should we talk about what we're going to give our fantastic listeners of the Stardom Cast Extra? Should we talk about what's coming up for the month of November, sir?
I think it's only right, Matt. I think it's only fair.
Well, then let's do it. Folks, the voting poll is still open. You can vote for the bi-weekly podcast, and don't forget the top 2 get picked. What review you would like me to do. We are in the midst of Goddess of Stardom Tag League, so you can pick FWC Hazuki and Kogama's win in the 2021 Tag League. You can pick Meltier's 2022 tag run, even though they did not win. In my opinion, they won our hearts and they won on points. You can also pick the 2019 run of one Arisa Hoshinki in her final 5-star Grand Prix. And speaking of 2019, show review. I have not done one of those solo before. So on the Patreon, show review of the 2019 year-end climax that has that fantastic star-making performance between Hana, Kimura, and Julia. So, folks, those are your picks. Once again, the 2022 Goddess of Stardom Tag League run from Meltier, the 2021 FWC Goddess of Stardom Tag League run, the 2019 5-star Grand Prix run from Arisa Hoshinki, and the 2019 show review of year-end climax. Top 2 get picked. You can either email me. You can, if you want to do the poll, you can just log on to the Twitter or the X or whatever it's called and just vote right on the pinned tweet that I have on the top of my profile. Or you can just, send me an email, send me a message at which one you want. So that's what we're doing for the bi-weekly podcast. Now, for the alternate commentary, the theme this month for the month of November is Instant Classic. So what I asked Rob to do is pick 2 matches from April 1st, 2023 up until very current day Stardom. So Rob, do you have your 2 matches that we're going to do for our alternate commentaries, sir?
And I am in no way stalling for time here. I do have one.
Do you want me to go?
I would love you to go first so that I can scrabble wildly for another match. Yes, that would be great.
And that means I don't have to do an alternate one. You gotta let Rob go first because I have like 7 or 8 of them in my head. So we're going to be doing from night 1 of the 5-star Grand Prix this past year, my favorite match from the tournament, Suzu Suzuki versus Shiri. So the winner of the 2021 5-star Grand Prix and the winner of this year's 5-star Grand Prix. And not only my favorite 5-star match from this past year, but one that might sneak up into the top 5 or 6 of the all-timers. Also, the match that we're going to do, Rob, is the match that once the bell rang, once the 3 count hit, it was a match that everybody got on the same time. It was the match that made air clearer to breathe, made water more delicious to taste. We all walked the Tam Road and got on Tam time as we were going to the biggest show in Stardom history, one of the greatest wrestling shows, start to finish, that I have ever seen, and I'm sure you as well. All-Star Grand Queendom as Tam Nakano challenges Julia for the World of Stardom Championship.
It makes water more beautiful. I mean, wow. What a way you have with words, sir.
Salesman, brother. I am a salesman, and I can sell Stardom and Tam to anybody, brother.
I mean, you sold it to me, and I do a podcast with you. So, the one that I had already in my head was simply because this might be one of Matt's favourite matches of the last couple of months. I know how much he loved this match, so we are going to go back not so long ago at all. In fact, just 15 days at the time of recording, we're going to go to Aichi Prefectural Gymnasium and we are going to watch from Stardom Nagoya Golden Fight. We're going to watch Mirai versus Momo Watanabe for the Wonder of Stardom Championship. And then on top of that, from All-Star Grand Queendom, not Tam versus Julia. We're not going to see. We're not going to see. Stop loading the same episode twice. We had a week off. No, we're not. We are going to see what happens when a bona fide dream match falls into our laps. Yes, we are going to be watching Mayu Iwatani taking on the blueprint herself, Mercedes Moné. So they're my 2 picks: Mirai versus Momo, and Mayu Iwatani versus Mercedes Moné.
A lot of M's, buddy. Mayu, Mercedes, Moné, Momo, Mirai. Delicious matches, brother. Speaking of delicious, why don't you tell our fantastic friends and family of the Stardom Cast with the bonus non-Stardom not alternate commentary, because we're going to be having some beers during this one. This is what we now have entitled our watch along, because I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, we quickly realized that for the vast majority of the All Japan, Noah, All Japan Women's, it started off as All Japan and All Japan Women, and then we've just sort of branched out to use it as an excuse to watch other promotions as well as Stardom. And we realized that basically we just wanted to watch them. So we're watching them with you. We won't be doing sort of alternate commentaries. We're branding them more sort of as watch alongs. So if you fancy just whacking it on, listening to two lads laughing their heads off, then feel free. If you don't know what sort of thing we're talking about, go back and listen to our Akira Hokuto versus Shinobu Kandori watch along, because that's sort of the idea. Matt drinking beer and just laughing at the brutality. That's pretty much what it is. So we will be doing that this week, or this month, should I say. We are taking our first foray into pro wrestling, Noah. I was initially, and I said this on the alternate commentary, that I was originally going to go for Misawa versus Kobashi from the 1st of March 2003, the match. But I was like, nah, we'll keep that in the back pocket. So instead, we're going to watch one of the most hard-hitting matches in Noah's back catalogue. Quite literally. We're going to be watching Kenta Kobashi versus Kensuke Sasaki from Noah's second and final. Final, because they did Keiji Muto's show. Yeah. Or it was for a long time their final show in the Tokyo Dome. Destiny 2005. Kensuke Sasaki versus Kenta Kobashi. The chop-off to end all chop-offs. 187 apparently are thrown in one particular exchange. So I am looking forward to watching that with you, sir.
Yeah, we go from Akira Hokuto to her husband, and I'm not sure which match is more brutal, but both great. Both, in my opinion, 5-star matches. The one we watch in October and the one that we're going to watch coming up in the next few weeks. The What If episode, Mr. Rob Goodwin, will be what if myself and Andy Header, Team Blue and Gold, were inserted into the current roster of Stardom. So we're basically, there's going to be three of us. This is not the roundtable discussion. I guess it's going to be a roundtable discussion of booking. So there'll be three of us on the What If episode. Myself, obviously Rob Goodwin, and then my good friend, my tag partner, Andy Header from Team Blue and Gold, who just got into Stardom a handful of months ago. So we are going to, all three of us, book ourselves in current day Stardom. And Rob, I don't know where I'm starting. I don't know where it's going to go in the middle, but I know what I'm doing for the grand finale. And it might be one of the most bizarre things I've ever said in my 41 years on this planet. And I cannot wait to watch your and Andy's head explode when I give you guys the final thing that is happening for when Team Blue and Gold make their foray into current day Stardom, sir. Also, the roundtable discussion, again, we will be getting the Allison Danger episode. That'll be up sometime in November. But the one that we have booked, the one and only, the Io Shirai to our Freedom. One Miss Karen Peterson is coming back to the show, and we'll be doing a roundtable discussion. So I told her, you have free reign to pick whatever you want, and she wants to do a retrospective on Julia's career. So I was like, yes, absolutely, that one will be fun. So another loaded month coming up on the Stardom Cast Extra, Rob Goodwin.
I am incredibly excited for next month. An incredibly busy month, but when is it not a busy month on the Stardom Cast? Let's sort of kick into some news, sort of look at the current state of Stardom, and Jesus, more things have happened because of course they have. So first things first, we have another, not an injury, it's an illness. Unfortunately, Lady C has come down with a high fever and ended up in hospital where she was diagnosed with influenza type A. She is, according to Twitter, on the way to recovery, on the road to recovery. However, she is not going to be on the shows from the 28th onwards. So I think she's cited a week that she's not going to be able to wrestle. It does mean that the Tokyo Towers, her and Ami Sourei, have got to forfeit their match against O2 Line. I think it's that match was in that sort of block of shows. I believe they will probably have to forfeit it. If not, because at the moment, because of Tam's injury, there aren't a huge amount of shows that have got the cards announced, presumably because they're waiting to see if Tam is going to be fit enough to wrestle before Gold Rush. But yes, obviously, we hope that Lady C is quick to recover. Hopefully it's nothing too serious, because at the moment, this leaves the leader of Queen's Quest as Miyu Amasaki, Matt.
Damn right. Bow down to not only the leader, but the only person there, because I think Hina's back in school. They might have to pull her out of school, but like, look, here's the deal. Queen's Quest, they're the top of the thing. We'll talk about school later. She needs to pull what I tried to pull the other day. This does not work for me, brother. I mean, Stardom comes first before everything. So yeah, Miyu legitimately carrying the flag for Queen's Quest this weekend. And again, we talk about her improvement all the time. And yeah, we talked about, I think, last week about how just taped up her neck and back is. So she's clearly not working at 100% either, but is literally carrying the entire Queen's Quest faction on her back. And we wish a speedy recovery to Lady C, to Azumi, to Tommy, Saya Kamatani, and half the other roster of Stardom wrestlers that are injured. We know that they're all going to come back and be better than ever.
Yeah, it was quite startling watching the Korakuen show when you think who wasn't on that card. And we'll go through it in a little bit. Obviously, we're going to be talking about that show today. But you watched that and it was like, oh my God. Like, there is just no one. There was no Utami, there was no Saya. We'll go through it in a moment. Obviously, we mentioned last week that the PWI's women's 250 was due to drop, and it dropped, I believe, Matt, an hour after we finished recording. And as usual, there was a lovely little bit of discourse around it, people agreeing, people disagreeing. It's my favourite time of the year on Twitter, is when PWI comes out, simply because some of the things that come out of people's mouths are quite outrageous. The top 10 was announced, and then people have gone through and sort of cherry-picked who fits where in terms of other promotions. Scotty Wrestling, big shout-out to Scott, who was also mentioned on the My World podcast with Jeff Jarrett. So, big up, Scott. He's gone through and picked out where everyone in Stardom finished. So bearing in mind that there are 250 women's wrestlers, this is where the Stardom roster placed. Now, see if you can hear who is missing from this list. Number 2 was Julia. Number 5, Tam Nakano. I will go through, by the way, the actual top 10 as well in a moment, but obviously this is a Stardom podcast. We want to focus where Stardom wrestlers finished. Saya Kamatani finished 20th. Mayu Iwatani 30th. Suzu Suzuki finished 31st. Syuri 37th. Utami 40th. Mirai 43rd. Azumi 47th. Mina Shirakawa 51st. Big jump for Mina. 71st. Maika 73. Saki Kashima, huge drop down for Starlight Kid at 76th, bearing in mind she was in the top 10 last year. 95, Mariah May, huge year for Mariah May. Really, really impressive. 109th, Amisori. 127th, Natsu Tora. 133, Momo Watanabe. 143rd, Natsupoi. 155th is Thekla. 226th, Mei Sakurai. 233rd, Koguma. And 239th of the 250 is Waka Tsukiyama. Now, I'm sure that everyone is going, where the hell is Fukigen Death? And obviously, I feel the exact same way. I feel like she was robbed. I feel like this was her year to top this. But no, robbed by filthy, stinking bureaucracy. No. Of course, Hazuki is missing. It was the person that everyone sort of went, how has Hazuki not made the 250? Now, I do just want to quickly remind everyone of the criteria, because something that people seem to suitably forget whenever we talk about whether it's the PWI 500 or whether it's the 200, whether it's the tag teams, people forget there is A, an evaluation period, and B, criteria that the judges go by. So let me just remind people of this. So the evaluation period was September 16th, 2022 to September 30th, 2023. Now, that's really important when you consider the top 10, and I'll go through that top 10 once we've discussed Stardom. The primary criteria, this is what the judges go by. So, in-ring achievements, so your win-loss records, your championships, your tournaments won. The influence, visibility, that's a huge word there, prestige within a promotion and or the industry. Technical ability, speaks for itself. Competition, success against the most varied and highest quality opponents. And the activity, minimum 10 singles matches total, or, barring this, 6 such matches in separate months. And it is worth noting that friend of the show, Karen Peterson, is on the ranking committee, so lovely to see her name on in print. So, first things first, Matt. Do you agree with the rest of the Stardom rankings? Of course, 2 Stardom wrestlers reaching the top 5, Julia, Tam Nakano. Do you think Hazuki was a legitimate miss? Do you think they just forgot, like with Tetsuya Naito? Or do you think she has been purposefully left out of the 250? Do you not think that she has done enough to be classed as one of the top 250? What are your opinions on this, Matt?
Rob, I heard a rumor, it's only a rumor, so don't quote it, that Pro Wrestling Illustrated is paying for expensive dinners for Naito and Hazuki for making them in. I mean, you just read off the criteria. Hazuki had a phenomenal run in the 5-star Grand Prix, was literally 1 win away of making it to the final. She had a great tag run that entire evaluation period with Kagama. Not only that, you talked about visibility. She was on a New Japan show against Mercedes Moné and with Izumi and stole the show. So how much more visibility do you need? She had one of the greatest matches of the year in any company at the beginning part of the year with Saya Kamitani for the Wonder of Stardom Championship. So my thing is, they made an oops. They made a mistake. How Hazuki didn't make the top 50 or 60, let alone the top 250. Same reason why how come Naito didn't make the top 30 or 40, let alone make it. They made a mistake. They missed Hazuki. Mistakes do happen. But I think considering the fact that you have Hazuki and Naito, who had phenomenal years in 2022 and 2023 for this evaluation period, the fact that they were missed on the list here is something that I think that's they can't go back and change time. They can't. It's something that we made a mistake. How do we go back and correct it? So fantastic wrestlers who go out there and give 110%, like a Naito, like a Hazuki. And we all know, we say it all the time, every week on this podcast, there is no holding back for Hazuki. Doesn't matter if it's a pay-per-view, a cork, and a show in front of 250 people. She always gives it 110%. So for the fact her not being on this list, it's got to be a mistake. It's got to just be like maybe they got lost in the shuffle. It was a late night. They had to get the list up. I don't know what, but Hazuki obviously deserves to be, like I said, in the top 50, let alone top 250. As far as the list goes, the top 10, Rob, we did make mention right before we were coming off air. We figured Rhea Ripley would be number 1 based on, you win the Royal Rumble, you win a championship match at WrestleMania. That usually slots you in the number 1 position, not only for the women, but we've seen it over the last, 30 years for the men. Again, it's the bigger companies, you're going to have more people on it. So the top 10, I really don't have a problem with, except for one little thing. And again, maybe it's my Queen's Quest bias. I don't know how Saya Kamitani didn't make the top 10, considering the fact of how good of a year she had. Last year, I believe she was 7th. How good of a year she had, continuing that fantastic run with the World Wonder of Stardom Championship. And not only that, again, Tag League, her and Utami made it to the finals. In my opinion, Aphrodite were the MVPs of the Tag League. So not only did she do it as a singles competitor, but a tag competitor. And to me, I think Saya Kamitani could have been in the top 10. Do you agree or disagree with anything I just said about one Hazuki and one Saya Kamitani, Rob?
Hazuki, I feel like, was just missed off. I feel like it was a mistake. Again, if you go back to that criteria, in-ring achievement, win-loss records, championships, tournaments won. Didn't win any championships, didn't win any tournaments. But you look at the other names on that, not everyone won tournaments, not everyone won championships. Competition, success against the most varied and high-quality opponents. Well, for a start, she beat Julia in the 5-star, who was number 2. So that's a fairly big opponent. Minimum 10 singles. Well, she had more than that in the 5-star. She had fantastic championship matches. They're probably not going to class the tag league in this because it does say singles. So the chances are the Aphrodite run for Saya Kamatani and the FWC run for Hazuki aren't going to count here. And obviously I know that FWC placed very highly when PWI did their tag team list. So I do think that Saya could have been higher. Poet, and I didn't even know it. I think Hazuki, Hazuki has got to be on this list. Whether she'd have been higher than maybe 100th, I don't know. Again, if you look at where those Stardom wrestlers placed, I would argue that she should be higher than Natsu Tora, who was 127th. If you look at Amisori has at least held the Future of Stardom Championship. So you can source. She also had a match for the white belt, same as Hazuki. So I would say that Hazuki should be somewhere between Amisori and Natsu Tora. I feel like that is where she should have slotted in. In terms of Saya Kamatani, she finished 20th. She's still in the top 20 women. And don't forget, of course, that she had that injury right at the start of the 5-star, so hasn't wrestled since. Maybe that is why she has dropped down a couple of rungs. That's perhaps what it is.
But look at look at Jamie Hayter, finished number 4. She was injured for at least a quarter of the evaluation.
That is true. That is very, very true. Again, whether it's exposure or not, I don't know. Obviously, yes, Jamie Hayter was injured for a quarter of this, but she was also the women's champion in one of the most viewed companies in the world. So, it's a very different exposure than the kind of exposure that Saya would get. Had Saya wrestled on 2, 3, 4 New Japan shows, we might be having a different conversation. But I don't think Saya cracked the top 10 this year. I think she should be higher, maybe 15th, maybe even 12th. But I don't think she cracks the top 10. And if we go through those people who were in the top 10, for those who haven't heard the top 10 in its full, number 1 was, of course, Rhea Ripley, WWE. Julia was 2nd. Bianca Belair was 3rd. Jamie Hayter 4th. Tam Nakano 5th. Athena, which I'm really happy to see, was in 6th. Deonna Purrazzo was in 7th. Willow Nightingale, who's had a fantastic year, in 8th. Camille from the NWA, 9th. And Jordan Grace in 10th. Now, the only person that I can think that Saya Kamatani could even possibly replace in that top 10 is Jordan Grace, and that's just. So, Camille, I know that people will say NWA is it's a dead promotion. It's sort of, it's on the up, certainly, but whether it's considered it's nowhere near as big as it was. Camille was still champion for 800 days. That's an extraordinary amount of time to hold the belt. And she did plow through a lot of people. So that's going to count. I think Athena should have been higher, if I'm perfectly honest. I think the work Athena has done has been brilliant. Her work on Ring of Honor television, her work when she was on AEW was really, really good. I think she could have potentially been higher. I understand why people are, I don't know, a little bit surprised that Jamie Hayes is as high as she is because of the injury. But again, like I said, she was the women's champion of the 2nd biggest company in America. She had TV time every single week until the injury. Because when did she get injured? Was it on Revolution? Or was it Double or Nothing?
I think it was right before Revolution, because she had to drop the belt to Toni Storm in like a 3-minute match. I know a lot of people. I think it was just a culmination of injuries. It was, her shoulder was, very well taped up. I think it was a culmination of injuries to a point where it's like she can't go any further. And they had that match booked with Toni Storm like 2-3 weeks out. I'm like, oh, that might steal the show. And I think they did an Oedo Tai style jump, and then Toni beat her in like 3 minutes. I'm like, you understand, she's injured. You don't want to injure her anymore. So yeah, I think it was before Double or Nothing, which is the Memorial Day show. So Yeah, it's been. I believe that's when it was, Rob.
Yeah, Bianca Belair, of course, had a phenomenal run. I think 400 days she held the Raw Women's Championship. Literally beat everybody on the roster. So I don't have an issue with her being third. I don't think she dropped the belt till SummerSlam. And
it was the one. It was the one before. It was like Crown Jewel. It was one of the ones they did like overseas.
Oh, was it? I thought it was the
SummerSlam was she got the belt back for a hot second. And Io
yes.
cashed in.
Yes, of
and
course.
Io cashed in.
That's what I was thinking of. It was Io pinning Bianca. That's why I got it in my head. But even so, that's, a huge run with the belt for Bianca. Deonna Purrazzo, phenomenal. Excellent wrestler, has been one of the crown jewels in Impact's Knockouts division for a good handful of years now. Same with Jordan Grace. Both women are extraordinarily talented. Willow Nightingale's had a breakout year. She's always been great, but it feels like she's taking it to another level this year. Had really good match with Mercedes Moné before the ankle injury. Had a really good match with Julia as well in Korakuen Hall. So, and now she's doing great work on AEW as well. Though I'm not entirely sure about the decision to perhaps turn a heel. I feel like that's counterproductive, but that's by the by. Overall, I think it's, in terms of a top 10, I feel like it's as inarguable as they were going to get. I'd say that every woman in that top 10 deserves to be in the top 10. Whether the positioning is right is another thing, but I think everybody who's in that top 10 deserves to be in the top 10, Matt.
Yeah, again, I totally agree. I would have just, maybe had Sai Kamatani a little bit higher, but some of the points you made were pretty valid. Now, folks, if you were like a lot of the people that Rob and I saw on social media when this thing was announced,
oh my God,
did not agree with it all, and you're like, Rob and Matt are so positive even about this, I can't stand it anymore. When you get done listening to this podcast, by all means, listen to Jim Cornette's views on the PW, because I listened about an hour before we recorded, and obviously Jim Cornette he's not he doesn't understand Joshi wrestling, and Jim Cornette. I think he's great, but his co-host was running through the list when they said Julia number 2. He was like, no one knows who she is, and then when you were running through the top 10 of the list, the fact that he's like, where's Charlotte Flair? Where's this? It was all WWE people because they're on the biggest program. He's like, I don't understand that. Then he goes, 250 people. They have to be making up names. And I'll end the Jim Cornette rant on this because we were just talking about Saya Kamatani. Rob, I don't need to tell you how much I love Saya Kamatani. When his co-host goes, number whatever, Saya Kamatani, Cornette cuts him off. He goes, okay, now they're just making up names. That's not a real name. And I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Yeah, poor Saya Kamatani, right? Supposedly was supposed to win the 5-star Grand Prix. Hopefully we'll still have a big match at the end of the year. But now Jim Cornette, who love him or hate him, he's one of the smartest people in the history of wrestling, said, Saya Kamatani, now you're just making up names. Poor Saya.
I mean, to be fair, well played for sitting through Jim Cornette podcast, because that thing is like...
I love it. It was just the clip. I was just going through YouTube, and it was just like the 4-minute clip, and I was like, oh, Rob and I are going to record in about a half an hour. I know we're going to talk about it. So let's see what Uncle Jim has to say about the women's 250. And boy, I tell you what, it was entertaining. Nowhere near as positive as our take, folks.
Unbelievable. I'm sure everybody has difficulty believing that. So, just a couple of other things. Stardom forayed for the first time into other places in Asia for the first time, I believe, since 2017, with Mina Shirakawa, Yuna Mizumori, Syuri, and Waka Tsukiyama going out to do some shows with, I believe the promotion is called Step Up in Thailand. So on the 21st and the 22nd, they did 2 shows in Bangkok, in Thailand, at the Imperial World Samrong. And there was a special tournament. So on the first day, Syuri defeated Waka Tsukiyama, and Mina Shirakawa defeated Yuna Mizumori. And then on the second night, on the following day, should I say, we then had an exhibition from Step. It's not Step Up, it's called Step. With Matcha defeating Jenny in 8 minutes and 17 seconds. I've heard people say the match is really good. Obviously, I'm not even going to pretend that I know who they are. I have heard the matcher is very good, though, so I will go and check it out. And if I'm mispronouncing the name, maybe I'll learn to pronounce it correctly. Waka Tsukiyama and Yuna Mizumori then had an exhibition match, sort of a third-place playoff, and that ended in a double count-out at 5 minutes and 18 seconds. And then in your special two-day tournament final, Syuri defeated Mina Shirakawa, submitting her in 10 minutes 39 seconds with the White Tiger. From everything I've seen online, the crowds all seem to be really hot. It seemed to be a success for Stardom. So that's really, really good news. Matt, have you got anything you want to add to the foray into Thailand, or shall we talk about some New Japan action?
Just real quick, I just want to say the wrestlers that are not a part of the current Stardom roster that were on this show that I've heard and you heard nothing but good things about, don't be shocked if they come in as new members of Club Venus. As if you remember, Mina and Waka were doing some scouting and they're both on these shows. So there's a reason why they put them on this, special exhibition show with these Stardom wrestlers. So I would not be shocked if you see them pop up at the end of the year, beginning next year, as members of Mina's Club Venus.
I think as well, something that I forgot to mention last week, they teased a new Sexy Dynamite Princess. Now, I'm not saying that someone from Thailand is going to be Sexy Dynamite Princess. It's just reminded me with you saying new member of Club Venus. I think it might be Hanan. And,
oh, boy.
But only on the sort of these comedy shows, which, this Halloween show. You look at the full card, which we'll be previewing a little bit later on, and you realise this is just Stardom in Showcase under a different name. But they've got Sexy Dynamite Princess in this zombie battle royal, and Hanan is nowhere on that card yet, and the rest of stars are on the card. So I wonder, with the link with Mariah May and Hanan, with, Mina Shirakawa trying to openly recruit Hanan, maybe it'll be Hanan. Who knows? You guys will. You guys will by the time you hear this, maybe. Fighting Spirit Unleashed is going to be taking place this weekend, Saturday, the 28th of October in Las Vegas, Sam's Town. So if you're in the Las Vegas area, go and check out this show. I think someone posted that there is a free press conference before the show. So if you're in the area, like I say, go and check that out. Obviously, we are going to be talking about the New Japan Strong Women's Championship, which is going to be defended by Julia, who is the second champion, and she is going to be defending for the 5th time against the challenger, Hyan. So that should be extremely entertaining. Also on the card, I'll just quickly run it down for anyone that is interested. We have got a singles match, Matt Vandergriff versus Buck Skyner. We have got Danny Limelight, Bruce Isaacs, and Jorel Nelson taking on Balian Aki, Titus Alexander, and Jacob Austin Young. Strong Openweight Championship #1 contendership 4-way. Of course, a Strong Openweight Championship at the moment held by Eddie Kingston, Satoshi Kojima, Fred Rosser, Alex Coughlin, and Jeff Cobb. Tag team match, we have got Johnny Robbie and Lavia taking on Stephanie Vaca and Zukis. Something like that. I did really like what I saw of Stephanie Vaca the last time she was on a New Japan Strong show. And if she's the one to challenge Mayu, I'm very, very happy with that. Singles match, Tom Lawler versus Gabe Kidd. We've then got an Atlantis 40th anniversary match with Atlantis Jr., Mystico, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Atlantis taking on Adrian Quest, Tiger Mask, Sobrano Jr., and Rocky Romero. The aforementioned title match between Julia and Hyan. Strong Openweight Championship tag match, Hikuleo and El Fantasma, the champions, taking on Alex Zane and Lance Archer. Eddie Kingston defending the Strong Openweight Championship against Hanare. Special tag match with the Just Five Guys team of Sanada and Yuya Uemura taking on the Los Ingonobles de Japón team of Tetsuya Naito and Hiromu Takahashi in a Wrestle Kingdom 18 preview match. And then in your main event, Never Openweight Championship match, Tama Tonga defending for the first time against Shingo Takagi. Obviously, I know that's a lot of names. It is a very, very long card looking at it. Those first two matches are on the kickoff. First question, Matt, and this is something I always think when I read through these cards. Have you wrestled with any of these people?
I have been on a zillion shows with Eddie Kingston, a zillion shows, both coming up literally. And I probably told this story on the podcast when I first started, when we did the IWA Mid-South 8th anniversary show, which was headlined with double main event of CM Punk versus AJ Styles and the American Dream Dusty Rhodes teaming with Ian Rotten against Chris Candido and Steve Stone. They did an autograph signing beforehand. So we get there on the autograph signing, and it goes by pecking order. Obviously, Dusty's up first. Punk is on the next table. Samoa Joe, blah, blah, blah. So we were, the students, the younger kids were all the way in the back. So I literally had to share an autograph table with Eddie Kingston, and we just kept talking about how horrible we are and laughing at each other. And now Eddie Kingston's on top of the world. Eddie Kingston's on top of the world, and I'm doing a phenomenal podcast with you, Rob Goodwin. So it's amazing. Fast forward 18 years later, where life can take you. But yes, I've been on shows. Let's see, Eddie Kingston. I'm trying to think of some of the other wrestlers. Maybe Lance Archer. Maybe coming through some indies here or there. There's certain wrestlers I've done shows with that I forgot. I was on like Adam Cole's like one of his very first wrestling shows in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. Didn't know. I've been on a ton of shows with Luke Gallows when he was known as Dorian DeVille, the Human Cadillac. So there's sometimes that I forget who I'm on shows with until some people will remind me, like, hey, you were on a show with that guy like 15 years ago. But yeah, Eddie Kingston's my guy. I mean, again, I have not seen Eddie or talked to Eddie in a handful of years. But between Chikara and doing the Northeast Indies and doing a bunch of shots for IWA Mid-South, I've been on tons of shows with Eddie and have nothing but love and respect. And I'm so happy to see his current success because nobody deserves it more than he does.
I agree wholeheartedly. Can you please just remind me what was Luke Gallows' name?
Dorian DeVille, the Human Cadillac.
That is simultaneously the best name and the worst wrestling name I've ever heard. That, oh my God. Oh, brilliant. Absolutely fantastic.
And considering he hasn't gone by that name, and I want to say like 15 years, and I still remember it like it was yesterday.
Doesn't
How
matter.
can you forget?
Doesn't
again,
matter.
Again, folks, I'm going to pop Rob here again. Dorian DeVille, the Human Cadillac.
Like, it's bad enough, the Dorian DeVille bit, but then
Just go in, go all in, brother. You may as well keep going at that point, right?
Oh, the human. He has had some terrible gimmicks, hasn't he? Jesus. Oh, anyway. And then, obviously, we have had it confirmed, I think I mentioned this last week, that at Lone Star Shootout on Friday, November 10th in Garland, Texas, the Curtis Culwell Center, Mayu Iwatani will be defending the IWGP Women's Championship. Now, I've heard rumours, nothing confirmed at all, that it's going to be Stephanie Vaca challenging Mayu. If it is, that is going to be an excellent match. Really, really, really looking forward to this. And I hope as well, because obviously the booking of the IWGP Women's Championship is nothing to do with Mayu, obviously. But I hope that she is able to go and defend it in more places. Because, you know, having these matches with the likes of Stephanie Vaca, with Ahayan, with, you know, whoever she is going to go and wrestle, it's going to up the prestige of the belt, and it's going to, you know, up the exposure for Stardom as well, which is important. Also, and just finally to note, those people who are in the New Jersey area, the Nick Gage Invitational, the 8th incarnation apparently of this, will be airing on Saturday, December 30th at the Showboat in Atlantic City. The reason I bring this up is that the first entrant is Risa Sarah from Prominence. So if you fancy going to see Risa Seira and didn't get to see her in Sukiban, or didn't get to see her in Pro Wrestling Kitsune, I believe it was, the show that was run by the Joshi Pod, which I've heard fantastic reviews of, by the way. So huge props going out to the Joshi Pod. A, I've heard he's an absolute, lovely guy. B, well done for putting on a show like that for your first attempt. I know there was apparently a couple of issues with the feed, but Jesus, don't let that get you down. Look at the show you put on. I've heard great things about it. So if you didn't get to see Risa Seira there and you're up in that area, go and see the Nick Gage Invitational on December the 30th. It's near you, Matt, I believe, isn't it? Atlantic City?
Yeah, and that is during my Christmas break from work, and I've had several people ask me, hey, are you going to go to the show? Are you going to cover it for the Stardom Cast podcast? Normally I would, because it's Risa Seira and she's great. However, deathmatch tournaments kind of not my thing. I have nothing against it. It's I've wrestled the Necro Butchers, the Madman Pondos, a lot of the deathmatch wrestlers before, and been in locker rooms. And deathmatch wrestlers are awesome. Some of the coolest guys and great storytellers that you ever meet. But not unless it ends in a feud. Like if they build up Risa versus Suzu properly, and they do some sort of barbed wire deathmatch in Stardom. Deathmatch tournaments just kind of not my thing. Unfortunately, more than likely, I will not be going to this show. But yeah, Atlantic City is about an hour and 45 minutes away from me. But if this was just Risa Seira wrestling on a GCW card, because I've been to one GCW show, the one that Utami was at, and they put on a fantastic show. But yes, if deathmatch wrestling is your thing, I highly recommend you go to this. And I'll say this for anybody that's going to that show and that's going to the show in Las Vegas with Julia, and I know we have some of our listeners that are going to the show with Mayu defending the IWGP Championship. If you're going to the show, drop us a line, leave us a little bit of review, your experience, and we'll talk about it on the show, and we will give you a free shout out on the podcast as well, because it always helps us, and always nice to get a little behind the scenes information.
Absolutely. Let's start talking then about the shows we want to cover today. Only one date of the 5-star we will be covering, simply because the show from Osaka from the 22nd literally dropped this morning, and neither me or Matt have had a chance to watch it yet. So we will tag that on to, pun intended, to next week's show. So we're just going to be covering the Korakuen today. And also what we're going to be covering is the Natsu Sumire show. And that is where we are going to start. The Natsu Sumire 10th anniversary produced decade of Queen's 10 years in the wrestling business for Natsu Sumire. This was on the 18th of October from Shinjuku Face in Tokyo, Japan. An attendance of 494 people, so a really healthy attendance for the show. And this had a lot of Stardom wrestlers on it, and it is now available to watch on Stardom World if you haven't seen it. So we'll just run through the results. There's only 4 matches, and then obviously we'll talk a little bit about the matches themselves. So we open with a tag team match. FWC, Hazuki and Kagame defeated Itsuki Aoki, I think, and Sakura Hirota in 6 minutes and 7 seconds. We then had the Y-shirt time difference battle royal, and Jesus, are we going to talk about that? Chi-Chi defeated Chan Yota, Mei Sakurai, Mina Shirakawa, Ram Kaichou, Saki, Saya Ida, Waka Tsukiyama, Yako, and Zones in 17 minutes and 28 seconds by last eliminating Waka Tsukiyama. A really good singles match between Natsu Tora versus VENY ended in a double countout in 14 minutes and 28 seconds. And then your main event, a 6-woman tag match, Azumi Sakiaki and Takumi Iroha defeated Kaho Kobayashi, Natsu Sumire, and Rina Yamashita in a match that Cage Match has listed as 8 minutes and 40 seconds. It absolutely bloody wasn't.
Wait a minute.
I think it should be 18:40. But anyway, this show, Matt. So let's sort of start with... So I watched the Y-shirt time match first. I don't know why I did this, but I did. And I think it's best summarized as, every person who, when you tell them you like Joshi wrestling, automatically think you're a weirdo. I imagine this match.
Well, we are. Me and you are weird, so
Absolutely.
I mean, they're not wrong.
Absolutely. They've got this interpretation of why we watch it. I imagine that this match is what they think Joshi is all the time. Just this sexual nonsense. I'll be honest, it wasn't for me, but it was a hoot. I did have a little bit of fun with this, and clearly the wrestlers had an absolute riot with this. Mina Shirakawa was in her element. Mei Sakurai cutting promos in the middle, saying that someone looked like the bulldog that they had at home. It's like, Jesus, Mei. Saki looked like she was having an absolute blast. Sayurida forgetting the rules and ripping off her own shirt so that she could have a pose off with zones was quite funny as well. Basically, the rules were, it was a battle royal where you could get eliminated by having your shirt ripped off, because everyone came out in a big white shirt, having your shirt ripped off, being pinned or submitted. And then around the ring, there were the rest of the roster with water pistols to soak you as you went out. We had a dance break where Mina Shirakawa did a sexy dance. We had Ram Kaichou blowing presumably what was white powder and not cocaine into people's faces. The final fall came when Waka Tsukiyama pinned Ram Kaichou, and as Chi-Chi came off the pin, ripped off Waka's shirt, and that was how the match ended. Natsu Sumire made a brief appearance and then was just knocked straight out again. It was absolute carnage. But, and again, you you can't rate this. There's no way you can rate this match. It is quite fun to watch.
Now, Rob, I had no idea who was in this match, because if you go to the graphic, it just says white shirt match. I'm like, okay, we're going to get the equivalent of kind of like a bra and panties match in the kind of the Attitude Era, Ruthless Aggression era. So it's like, I had no idea who was going to be in this. Now that I think about it, who I wish was in this match? The Human Cadillac, Dorian DeVille. So Mina, I think Mina's one of the. I got you on that one, didn't I, brother?
Oh my god.
Hey, I did make mention that on Twitter or X that this episode was going to be late, but we were going to have fun. And damn howdy are we? Okay, so Mina's out first, right? Mina's in her element, Saki, the whole nine. But again, I had no idea who's in this match, and all of a sudden, my favorite part of the match happens where Saya Iida's music hits, right? And I was like, oh boy! So she comes to the ring wearing the shirt, but no knee pads, no shoes, no nothing. I'm like, oh man, how awesome would it be if she throws a chop? Not only does she throw a chop, she chops everybody that's in the ring. I was like, okay, again, I agree with you. This match isn't for me. I understand why they did it. The crowd enjoyed it. Everybody in the match seemed to enjoy it. Everybody on the outside seemed to enjoy it. It was something different. It's something that Natsu wanted on the card. So it was fun at that point. By all means, give me Io versus Mayu. By all means, give me Sherry versus Julia, so on and so forth. So that was my favorite part. I also enjoyed that Mei Sakurai came out. Not only did she come out, she came out with a giant hat.
Oh my god, she came out with the hat and the money.
Yeah. So I was like, okay. And again, it's just like, I get it, not for me, but I wanted to watch it. I didn't rate this match. Also the first match, and if you don't mind, I want to talk about the first match for a moment with the FWC match. I didn't rate that match either, because I thought there was a little bit too much shenanigans, even to the point when the match got over, I text you and I'm like, man, I just watched this first match. I'm assuming that majority of the show is supposed to be kind of like comedy and ha-ha, but I guess when they did the meeting before the show, Hazuki wasn't present because the other ladies, and I forget their name, and they were talented, don't get me wrong, but they were doing majority of the comedy, and Kagama was playing in as well. And then Hazuki gets to the ring and was like, nope, guess what? I'm Hazuki. My gimmick is I get to forearm you in the face. So I thought that was great, but then it went to way too much ha-ha and comedy. But I really enjoyed the fact that, Hazuki wasn't playing into it. Towards the end, she did, but I just loved it how Hazuki just destroyed everybody. So the first two matches, just for the sake of being positive and understand that everybody's out there giving their effort, I did not give a rating to match 1 or 2.
See, I quite enjoyed match 1. Not to the point where, it's going to get 5 stars or anything, but I thought it was relatively entertaining. I quite enjoyed Sakura Hirota, the comedy that she did in certain parts. I'm not entirely sure about the hand to the ass move, but there we are. That is what she does, apparently. And Hazuki sold it like death. It was brilliant the way Hazuki sold it. Also, Koguma getting booed. How can you boo Koguma? Yeah, Tora versus VENY was great. It started a little slowly, and then it properly ramped up. Like, it got really, really violent really, really quickly towards the end, where I was like, oh my god, VENY's going shoot. I thought something a proper, like, made a snap. It was really well done. To the point where I was like, oh, when they called it a double countout, because he'd spent a lot of time brawling around the crowd before that anyway. But we did see VENY's beautiful moonsault. We did see Tora at one point choking her out with a belt and then just shifting herself every time the referee tried to see what she was doing, which I thought was quite funny. But overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this match. I gave it 3.5. I think VENY is extremely talented, and I think Tora was the perfect person for her to wrestle here.
I loved it too. I thought you had that rating a little low. I actually gave it 4.25. I liked it that much. We did, of course, that's a Soweto tie, Rob. So what has to happen?
You've got to Soweto tie, Matt. Always got to Soweto tie.
So we had some Ruaka interference. Then Momo Watanabe just all of a sudden, towards the end of the match, she just shows up and she starts beating up VENY. And VENY's like, well, if you're here, guess what? So Momo Watanabe, who's not even in the match, she takes a Michinoku driver on the ramp.
Oh my God, I know.
I was like, is she getting paid? Like, is Natsu like, hey, I'm going to have you on the show. I'm going to pay you, because she didn't wrestle. And Tora's built up great in the tournament. If Momo was there, no disrespect to Tora, I would have much rather VENY versus Momo.
Oh,
and that just shows you, that just shows you how much I love Momo Watanabe. So that's a match. Hopefully we get somewhere down the line, whether VENY comes into Stardom for a little bit, or maybe on a Hana Kimura special show. But she just took a Michinoku driver for no apparent reason on the rampway. So like, okay, no problem. But yeah, I love this match, and this just goes. And I've only seen a handful of VENY matches. The one I always go to is her match with Sherry from the Hana Kimura Memorial Show. Not this past year, but I believe it was the year before. But yeah, this was great. Tora is just ever getting better in the ring, looking more like a monster, more like a badass. I thought, for how crazy this match was, I thought a double DQ or double countout was the right finish, especially when you have different company politics involved. I'm sure Rossi does not want the leader of his only 100% heel faction, Tora, who's coming off this great run in the 5 stars, coming off this near loss for the World of Stardom Championship, eating a loss to a non-Stardom wrestler. So probably the right call to go with, and the way that they did it, I had no problem with it. Again, 4.25 stars. Absolutely loved this match. And as great as this match was, it was not my favorite of the show, Rob Goodwin.
No, the main event slapped. The main event was great. I mean, you've got some really, really high caliber names in here. Not only Azumi, but Saki Akai is fantastic from what I've seen of her. We know how good Takumi Aroha is. She's marvelous as Ace, has had fantastic matches with Mai Iwatani, with Utami, with Syuri, with Tam. I don't know a great deal about Kaio Kobayashi, I must admit, but Rina Yamashita, everything I've seen with her makes me think she's even more of a badass. And then Sumire just brings that cowardly heel nonsense, and I love it. I really do. And I thought all 6 women here, again, made an incredibly fun match. Not just because of the way they wrestled, but also the way that they gelled as a collective as well in this apparently 8-minute match, Matt.
Yeah, again, I watched this and I was really enjoying it. It went by quick, but I don't think it went by 8 minutes. And I'm usually pretty good with time, Rob. But again, who knows? Maybe one too many kicks to the head. I'm not really sure. Maybe I got hit with a human Cadillac, and maybe that's what happened. And I time warped.
It's the worst name. It is the worst name.
We got a lot of cool bits on the show now, but we have the Bipoi. We have your love /hatred for Hanum's new theme, and depending when this airs, depending on the response we get, we might have to have a human Cadillac thrown in from time to time. Like maybe like Natsu just hit Momo Watanabe with this huge clothesline like it was a Cadillac. We can work it in one way or another. Regardless,
Absolutely.
again, halfway through this match, which apparently halfway through this match was 4 minutes, I text you and I said, Azumi is back to Azumi form. I think that they just took her off the shows just for some rest. She didn't take anything off here. I love watching Takumi Roha. Again, I watched this match, and then I think it was the next day I watched that match with Tam Nakano from the 2021 5-star Grand Prix for the Patreon. So I was like, oh my God, Takumi Roha is so good. So good. I'd love to see her have another run in Stardom. You know, whether it's they bring her in for a random 5-star or just a random few tours her in there. She is so good. And Natsu Sumire, it's her show where she got her ass kicked in this match. She puts herself in the main event against all these wrestlers, and everybody got to kick her at least 5 or 6 times. It was like, holy jeez. Rina Yamashita, who I've seen a handful of times doing independence here in the United States, she is absolutely fantastic. I know she's mostly a deathmatch wrestler. She's another one I would love to see maybe have her come over and like have a special challenge match with like a Nutami or even a New Japan Strong Championship match with Julia. I think that would be fantastic. She was really good. Yeah, all 6 wrestlers were really good, but I really had my eyes on Azumi just to be like, I hope she's okay. I hope she doesn't, if it's her ankle or her foot, or I hope it's just a precautionary. And it really looked like it because I thought she was absolutely fantastic here. But I thought Takumi Roha was the main event of this match. Again, this was fun. It was great. The crowd was into everything. They did a nice little fun spot with the referee. Again, it was more of a lighthearted show. I absolutely love this match. This is like, peak 6-person tag wrestling. It was a lot of it reminded me a lot of the Dragon Gate stuff, with just the fast spots going back and forth and everybody getting their time to shine, mixed in with some really good psychology and some hard-hitting wrestling. I absolutely love this match. I didn't know what to expect when I first started watching the show, considering the fact how the first 2 matches were, and considering the fact I was blown away by VENY and Tora and completely blown away by this one. Really enjoyed how this show ended, and I actually gave this one, Rob, a very high rating, 4.5 stars, my friend.
I gave it 4.25. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and I must admit, I don't know what I was expecting with this show. I don't know whether I was expecting full comedy or whether I was expecting like a proper wrestling card, but I thoroughly enjoyed what we did get, and like even as I mentioned before, I'm not huge on, the Y shirt time match, whatever you want to call it. But it was funny. Like, there are some parts of it that do make you chuckle out loud. Sayarida having a bump off with Zones is so fun because she's so small. Like, she's so jacked, but she's so small. And she looked like she was having the absolute time of her life. The fact that they wrestled that match with no shoes on as well. No shoes, no elbow pads, no knee pads. Though I did notice some strapping on Sayarida and Mina Shirakawa. So for God's sake, wrap them in bubble wrap. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to put on cards anymore. But yeah, a thoroughly, thoroughly enjoyable show. And again, it's 4 matches long. And it's on Stardom World. So if you haven't gone and seen it, seriously, go check it out. It's a decent watch. And if you press for time, just watch the two matches that close out the show. Because that Tora versus VENY match really, really, really blew my expectations out of the water. And that 6-woman tag is just oodles, Matt, of fun. So, with that being said, let's move on to the second night of the Goddesses of Stardom Tag League, this show from the 19th of October, Korakuen Hall, in front of 687 people. Now, I feel like I talk about the attendance a lot on this show, and I feel like it's a negative quite a lot. So I'll get it out of the way now, rather than, sort of dragging on about it. Again, like we said last week, there's plenty of reasons why this show could have been as low as it was. I'm sure Stardom will be disappointed in that number because Korakuen Hall, they have been pretty much selling it out on a regular basis. And considering it's not their primary location for title matches, to then drop by nearly half is, a bit of a shock. Now, the last time, according to Velkage on Twitter, who has done his research, and I trust him implicitly, so if he's got this wrong, blame him. Apparently, the last time Stardom was under 700 in Korakuen Hall was over a year ago. It was the Starlight Kid versus Natsupoi main event, the time limit high speed title match back on the February 1st, 2022. So, again, there are reasons why this show could have been drawing quite low. I mean, no disrespect to anyone on the card. No disrespect at all. You've still got Julia. You've still got Syuri. You've still got Mayu. You've still got Hazuki. You've still got... I can't remember if I've already said Syuri. However, no Utami, no Saya Kamatani, no Azumi, no Tam, no Natsupoi, no Starlight Kid, no Lady... Oh, no, Lady C was on this card, sorry. That's 6 really big names that you don't have on this card. And on top of that, it's Tag League, which naturally draws lower anyway. And you could argue, as we argued last week, maybe it's oversaturation, too many shows. Could be the fact that there's no singles matches, no championship matches on this card. There are plenty of reasons as to why that number is so low. Do I think it is a cue for Stardom to start panicking? No, I don't at all. You know, as I've just said, Stardom have been selling out Korakuen Hall most of the year with good numbers, 1,400, 1,300 and above. I think as we draw towards the end of the year, everyone is sort of waiting to get to that end of year show and the reset that Dream Queendom 2023 will bring. Whether that improves Korakuen numbers, I don't know. But again, Tag League is never a big draw. It's never really been a big draw. Aside from the first year aside from last year where they drew like 2,000, I believe, to the opening night, but that was because they had the IWGP Women's Tournament as well. What about you, Matt? What do you think about this number? I mean, I don't think anyone can say that Stardom won't be disappointed in this number, and rightly so, because in the current climate with Stardom, this is a disappointing attendance.
Yeah, again, let's get the negative out of the way because this show was fantastic. 687 people in Korakuen Hall. Considering the fact that they've been drawing well over 1,000 people, pretty much this entire year, and even during last year's 5-star. If you remember, last year's 5-star came right after the G1 Climax, which it usually does. And if you take the G1 Climax average numbers in Korakuen Hall versus the 5-star numbers average number in Korakuen Hall, Stardom outdrew New Japan for their tournaments in 2022. You look back just about a month and change ago, Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Azumi 10-year anniversary show with her and Mayu, and then Ami, Sori, and Julia, that drew about 800 people, which is kind of a low number for Stardom because they're usually in the 1,100 numbers. And then you go look at that Korakuen Hall show that had Mayu and Tam as one of the big matches. I think that had something like 1,500 people there. They said not only was it the highest drawn Korakuen show in any wrestling, not only just Stardom, but any wrestling promotion, that, it was overfilled, 1,500 people. Usually, depending on the seating, you're about 1,300, 1,400, but they knew the demand with Tam and Mayu. And that whole entire show was really good. I think it was Azumi and Utami was the main event, but I think Tam and Mayu was the big draw. And again, that was just a couple months ago. So I think all those have to play a factor. I think the injuries are the major factor. Is it time for Stardom to hit the panic button? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's it's only a matter of time before we start getting, we just got Azumi back. It's only a matter of time before we already have Sai Kamatani talking. She's going to be coming back soon. Utami as well. Natsupoi, Starlight Kid. It's only a matter of time before we have that, and then we start building towards, Dream Queendom, which is going to be a huge, huge show. Obviously, there is a Wonder of Stardom and a high-speed championship match that gets set up for the Gold Rush show, which is looking like that's going to be another fantastic show and a potential show of the year contender. So yes, is the number disappointing? Absolutely. Absolutely. Is it time to hit the panic button for Stardom? Absolutely not. This show was fantastic. Even with how depleted the roster is, you still have some fantastic matches. Tora Momo's great. You had Soriano on here, and her and Mina just tearing it up, and we'll get into that. This still was a really, really good show. But maybe I think what maybe Stardom might want to do is almost make a too good, up for, like, make something up for the fine folks that go to Korakuen Hall, and maybe give a Wonder or World of Stardom championship match on a Korakuen Hall show. I can't remember the last time we had a white or red belt championship match on a Korakuen Hall show, because they're mostly kind of stayed back or held back for the pay-per-views. And I understand that. At the same time, it's like, okay, these numbers, last two Korakuen shows were under 1,000, where we usually blow that number out of the water. Maybe we'll give them a Mirai versus Natsupoi match, or Mirai versus Micah match, or a Tam versus Natsupoi match. Natsupoi beat Tam on the final night of the 5-star Grand Prix. What if it's, the first week of December, they run Korakuen Hall before Dream Queendom, and Natsupoi says, hey, look, I beat you in the final night of the 5-star Grand Prix that blocked you from going to the finals. And not only that, the last time we had a singles match here in Korakuen Hall, I beat you. So let's run it back for the World of Stardom Championship. You just do Tam versus Natsupoi for the red belt at a Korakuen Hall show, sometime in early December. There's no way that's not going to draw 12 or 1,300. So I think that you'll see this number, go up by 40, 50% the next time they run Korakuen Hall, my friend.
Yeah, I think, and again, I could be wrong, I think the last time there was a red belt title defense at Korakuen might have been the 10th anniversary show, Utami versus Micah. I think. I don't think Utami defended the red belt again at Korakuen. I don't think Syuri defended it at Korakuen ever. Julia didn't have it long enough. She defended it against Suzu and Mai Yukihi, and neither of those were at Korakuen. And obviously Tam hasn't defended it at Korakuen. So yeah, January 2021, I think, is the last time the red belt was defended in Korakuen. And the white belt... did Saya defend the belt at Korakuen?
I'm trying to run through it, and I just, not too long ago, I went back and rewatched all those matches. I don't think so. I'm going to run through them in my head. She beat Tam, no. Unagi, no. Natsupoi, no. Mirai, Starlight Kid, no. Micah, no. Himika, no. Kairi, no. The two Mina matches, no. Yumasaki, no. No, I don't think so, buddy. Obviously, she had great matches in the 5-star for Korakuen, especially that match with Mina that eventually gave her the Mina the championship match. I'm almost positive she didn't. And then before Saya, we had Tam, and I don't think Tam defended in Korakuen. I think the last time we had would have been Julia with Baby beating Tam in the finals back in 2020.
No, she defended it against Tora and on that
that's
anniversary
right.
show.
That's right.
And Starlight Kid. So that Starlight Kid match actually in February of 2021 might have been the last time it was defended at Korakuen.
2.5 years.
But then you look at, so I'm intrigued now because obviously there is no SWA belt anymore. I don't know what on earth is happening with that. It's been vacant for more or less a year. I think it's 2 weeks off being a year it's been vacant, so I'm pretty sure they're just writing that championship off now. The Goddess of Stardom championships. So they...
7-Up versus Ruaka and who was it? Was it Tora? That was the main event of a Korakuen.
I'm just seeing if Amisori and Mirai defend. No, they didn't defend it. So, yeah, I think you're right. I think it was that. What about the artist belts? I think the artist belts have been defended there recently.
There was that really good one with Utami, Sai, and Azumi versus Suzu, the prominent team, Suzu, Haragi, and Risa Serra, where like Utami took a rare loss clean in the middle of the ring for Suzu, which is basically almost ignited Saya and Utami, teasing the breakup. That match was fantastic.
2nd of April this year. So we haven't had a big title match. And, I know we've had a high-speed championship match there here and there. I know we've had a Future of Stardom championship here and there. I'm talking your big titles. Red belt, white belt, artist, and Goddess of Stardom. We haven't had a title match on a Korakuen like that since the 2nd of April. Maybe that's something to do with it. Maybe they're just seen as unimportant cards to go and see now. And, you know that the match quality is going to be great. It's Stardom. You know it's going to be great. But maybe people want to see matches with stakes. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe people want to go and see, Barry Bombers defend the Artist of Stardom belts against a Mayu, Hazuki, and Koguma. Like, that straight away is a tasty main event. Like, you put that on a card and people are going to want to come and see it. Whether you put even if it's a throwaway white belt defense or a throwaway red belt defense, obviously I know you can't do that at the moment with Tam being injured, which again, we've already said, is another reason this number is so low. But you don't want to completely relegate Korakuen to just another venue. You're no disrespectful, like a Yamagata Big Wing or Osaka Arena 2 or something like that. You still want it to be especially because you run the majority of your events out of Tokyo. That should be your strong hold. That should be where your numbers are always strong. And obviously the last two haven't been. And again, there have been certain changes, and obviously the injuries are making cards less, for lack of a better word, sexy. But yeah, I wonder if that's something to do with it then, Matt. Maybe there does need to be more stakes in these matches. Maybe there does go on.
Like Kobe beefsteak? Is that what you mean? Like if you go to the show, you get a steak on your way out? I wasn't going to go that way, but here's the advertiser, the thinker, the seller in me. Here's where you do Micah versus Mirai, because Micah beat Mirai in the 5-star. We're going to do it at Corkin Hall the first week of December, and the winner goes to defend the belt against Mina at the end of the year show. And it's going to be on Corkin Hall, so you cannot get this on pay-per-view. But you have the fantastic people that run the We Are Stardom Twitter page. They say, here's the deal, folks. We are going to put this show up within 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, whatever, when it airs. And the only way to see it is on Stardom World. And if you don't have Stardom World, that's okay. We got you. For less than $7 a month, you can see this show. Not only this show, you're like, well, I really want to see, or even do Natsupoi Tam, if Tam wasn't injured. You want to see Tam and Natsupoi. They're, Meltier, the Smash album, the two people that have that Smash album that's out. You want to see this match? It's not on pay-per-view. We are going to put it up 12, 14, 15 hours after it airs on Stardom World. It's going to cost you less than $7. Not only that, but then you get Stardom World the entire month of December, and you can see Mercedes versus Mayu. You can see Io versus Kairi. You can go back through all the back catalog and see all these matches. Yeah, it literally aired the first week of December. But guess what? Majority of the folks are going to be off for the holidays. What better? You already spent the $7 to see Tam versus Natsupoi or Micah versus Mirai. And again, that's going to pump up your ticket sale in Corkin, but then you're going to sell Stardom World. And then if you have people that are going to go through the back catalog of Stardom World, I don't think anybody's going to be disappointed on what's on there for less than $7 a month. That's how I would sell it, my friend. That's how I would do it. And maybe I would give stakes out, Rob. You might have thrown that out there without even knowing what you did, buddy.
I mean, you put another Kobe beef match on, and you know the old adage, you build it, they will come. Absolutely. People will turn up for Kobe beef. Anyway, those are just some random rambling thoughts. Either way, it's not a good number, but the show itself was really, really good. And something that we can say about Tag League, I know we're only 3 days into it now, but it has been really easy to watch. The matches have all been short, succinct, and really, really good to watch. So we'll read through these results, and then we'll sort of go into a little bit more detail about each of them shortly. So we opened with a tag team match, the Ueda Tai team of Momo Watanabe and Natsu Tora, Ueda Tai XL, as they are in the Tag League, defeating the Queen's Quest team, the Queen's Quest A team, as it stands at the moment, of Miyu Amasaki and Lady C, Momo pinning Miyu with the B driver in 8 minutes and 17 seconds. We then had a 4-way match with Saori Ano defeating Amisori, Mina Shirakawa and Ruaka, with Saori pinning Ruaka in 7 minutes and 5 seconds with the pottering. We then move on to our Goddess of Stardom Tag League matches. God's Eye, the team of Saki Kashima and Syuri picked up their first win of the tournament, moving to 2 points, defeated Massive Mini, Hanako and Saida, who remain on 0, with Syuri submitting Hanako with the Suzaku in 7 minutes and 32 seconds. Stars, the eye contact team of Hanan and Mayu Iwatani moved to 2 points, get their first win, defeat the Divine Kingdom team of Micah and Megan Bain. They remain on 2 points. This happened in 8 minutes and 21. It happened via count-out, with Hanan getting back in and Mayu literally just dragging Micah and Megan Bain down to the ground. We then had Mei Sakurai and Mirai move to 2 points in their first match, defeating Fukuoka Double Crazy, who remain on 2 points. For me, one of the big shocks of the tournament so far, Mei Sakurai pinning Koguma with My Pan Roll in 10 minutes and 1 second. And then in your main event, the red block saw Crazy Star, Mei Seira and Suzu Suzuki move to 3 points, defeating the Mafia Bella team of Julia and Thekla in 13 minutes and 55 seconds. Mei Seira getting the pinfall over Thekla with a modified powerbomb. Couple of things just to talk about before we go into detail about each match. First things first, what do you think was the reason that Hazuki and Koguma missed their entrance, Matt?
Yeah, it was pretty funny. I was like...
it just kept going.
Yeah, it just kept going on. And then you see Kagama and Hazuki, they come out laughing. So there must have been something backstage. And we might have to ask a question to our the people that we know that work in Stardom, is what was going on. One thing if it was like maybe their shoelace came unlaced or they forgot. I can't tell you how many times that me and Andy had to get ready to go on. He's like, I forgot to put my kick pads on. That happens all the time. Something happened there, but when they were after their entrance played for 9.5 minutes, or whatever it was, they come out and they giggle.
It did restart. It restarted.
They're giggling and then they're laughing. So I was wondering what the heck happened that made a Mr. Q, and that might be a question we have to ask maybe the brass at Stardom, because that is a funny little tidbit, my friend.
It was even funnier because obviously the music hits and you're waiting. You're like, okay, they're gonna come out as the music hits, like properly drops. Nope. Okay, they're waiting for the next breakdown in the song. Nope, they're still not here. Okay, and then some of the crowd came in. So you're like, oh, okay, maybe they were waiting for the crowd. Don't know why the crowd had gone, because this was the semi-main, but, maybe they'd just been to the loo. Still hadn't come out. And then you see Momo Kogo run backstage, and Momo Kogo's clearly gone and gone, why are you not outside yet? And then you see them come out giggling to themselves. Seriously, watch. It's Momo Kogo and someone else runs backstage to go and get them. So I don't know if they just hadn't heard the music. I don't know if they just got their timings wrong, but I can guarantee it's something to do with Mayu Iwatani. I guarantee it's Mayu's fault they were late. We'll see. We'll see what comes of it.
Well, brother, Momo Kogo, Hazuki, Koguma, what faction are they in?
Stars.
And who's the leader of Stars?
Mayu Iwatani.
There it is, buddy. We just connected the dots. All right, move on to the next subject. We figured out it's Mayu's fault.
Next thing. We talked a lot last episode about how cool Divine Kingdom are and how great they look. And Micah ramped it up on this show as well. The real presence, the way she carried herself. And yes, Divine Kingdom looked awesome, but can we take a moment to just appreciate how badass Mafia Bella looked? They came to the ring, the fur coats, the red gear, the glasses, the belts. Oh my god, they looked like killers. Admittedly, they then lost, but they looked incredible, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, we said this at the beginning of last year's Tag League, like, wow, they just look like so cool together. Like Julia, who always has this elaborate look, this really cool gear, the hair done a certain way, which it does Mafia Bella. It's like one solid color, but it works for her. It just goes to show that Julia can just do the all black like she did last year with Mafia Bella, or the all red like she did, I guess apparently she's going to do this year with Mafia Bella. Or then she can do the crazy entrance and the crazy gear that she did at All-Star Grand Queendom against Tam. Or it just goes to show you they literally can be like, okay, Julia, here's what you're going to do. You go. or she can design her own gear. Like no matter what they do with Julia, it just works. And we mentioned last week, like, with everybody, with all these injuries, we're seeing a lot of the wrestlers get a little bit more time and step up. And Thekla, we always knew Thekla was great. She got sidelined with that injury and missed last year's 5-star. Boy, she's really been coming to her own the past month or two, which we mentioned last week. But she was phenomenal, and we'll get to it later. She was phenomenal in this match, and her and Julia just have really, really, really good chemistry together, which made for an absolute show stealer of a main event. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Mafia Bella looked like just two complete badasses, as always. This goes to show you the star power of one Julia.
Absolutely, and I think it is important to note that in this match you had the winner of the 5-star 2023 Suzu Suzuki, Julia, who is one of the biggest international stars that Stardom have, Thekla, and it's Mei Seira that comes out with the victory, and possibly who we should be talking the most about because her exchanges with Thekla were phenomenal. And like you said, we'll talk about that in a moment. But before we talk about the Tag League matches, Matt, is there anything you want to talk about these two undercard matches?
I just want to say, obviously Momo and Tor are in, they're in the Tag League together, due to the injury of Starlight Kid. They look great, but I got to tell you, my friend Miyu and Lady C, I'm really enjoying this team. Obviously, they're part of Queen's Quest, but I'm really enjoying them together. And I would like to see somewhere down the line, maybe on a New Blood show, Miyu and Lady C maybe challenge Wing Gory for the New Blood tag titles and give them like 15, 16 minutes and have them go at it. Because I really just enjoying how much, again, Lady C, she always improves in the ring. Miyu, again, she kind of had that start-stop to the beginning of her career last year with the injuries, and she's really coming into her own. So I would just, even on some of these, just these shows, the quote-unquote road to shows, as we call it, put them in tags more often, because I think that they're absolutely great together. So I really enjoyed that. And then, of course, the four-way with Saori, Mina, Ami Sourei, and Ruaka. Not to take anything away from Ami or Ruaka, because Ami just, and we mentioned this coming off the 5-star, she just looks like a star. She's carrying herself with more confidence, more presence. Her gear looks badass. She's a badass in the ring. But they're teasing something here with Saori and Mina. And what I think that they're teasing, Rob, and I mentioned this a couple weeks ago when we did our 5-star, when we reviewed the final of the 5-star, where I didn't understand why Mina ate the L to Saori on the final night. But I think what's going to happen is Mina's going to capture the Wonder Belt back at the end of the year, and that one of her first big title defenses, maybe on the anniversary show, is going to be against Saori, because they really seem like they're doing something here. They had a great match on the final night of the 5-star. Their exchanges here were fantastic. And then after Saori got the win, her and Mina were kind of pushing each other. And Stardom does a really good job, especially at Cork and Hall. If they're going to build to something in the future, they'll do it at Cork and Hall. So those are kind of just the 2 points I want to point out on these first two matches, my friend.
Let's move on then to the God's Eye versus Hanako and Saya Iida match. First thing to note, again, Saki Kashima's brilliant. I love it. She's so good. She full on refuses to fire Hanako, and then the moment Saya Iida says, no, I'll start, Saki Kashima's right in there just because she can tower over it. I love this whole redemption of Saki storyline she's doing with God's Eye. Like, whenever she's on top and tries to tag out, Shiori jumps off the apron and goes, no, you've got this. You go. And you see Saki go, okay. And then continues the attack. And honestly, they're not going to win the tournament, at all.
What?
But they are. I know. Spoilers. I've said that now.
Yeah, they're going to win the tournament now, folks. Put your money on Shiori and Saki.
But they are one of those entertaining teams on the undercard. They're like Mei Sakurai, who is now almost compulsory viewing. She's not going to win a white belt. She's not going to win a red belt. But she is compulsory viewing because she's made this character her own. And that's what Saki's done. Saki and Shiori have such a partnership around this character of Saki that I think works really, really well. Hanako and Saya Iida have got good chemistry. Obviously, they're a team that was sort of, thrown together a little bit last minute, but even so, I think they're doing very well with the hand that they've been dealt. Saya Iida continues to impress, looks really good with gold around her waist. I'm glad that that's finally happened. Overall, a good little match. Nothing you need to go out of your way to go and see, but the chemistry between Saki and Shiori is incredibly entertaining, man.
Yeah, that and I'll give my star rating right from the start. Yeah, it was solid. I actually had it 3.5 stars. I totally agree with the chemistry with Sherry and Saki working really well together. But to me, the highlight of this match, and we didn't get enough of it, was Sherry and Saida going chop for kick, and I was like, that's a match I would love to see get like maybe 9, 10, 11 minutes somewhere down the line. The way that they hit each other and how hard they hit each other and the acoustics in Cork and Hall. It's one of the reasons why I love watching shows in Cork and Hall, because the crowd's always into it. And the acoustics, they were so loud, Rob. It was almost as if you got hit with a human Cadillac. Anyway, my friend.
But I think I do love the fact that they are properly putting over Sayurida's slaps. Like, it doesn't matter how high you are up on the Stardom totem pole. If Sayurida hits you with a chop, you feel it. And I love that. It made Saki cry on that Decade of Queens show. I forgot to mention it. It proper tickled me, that did. The fact that she's laying in all these chops dressed in this huge white shirt, and they just see Saki in the foreground in tears. It really made, like, obviously fake tears. I would hope they're fake tears. But it really did tickle me. But yes, I also enjoyed the Suri and Saki exchanges. I gave it 3 stars, by the way, just for clarity. So, Eye Contact versus Divine Kingdom. Did not expect Eye Contact to come away with the victory, but I do like the fact that the only reason that they got the victory was because of sneaky Mayu, Matt.
Yeah, hey, and by any means necessary. You know, she's been there since literally down since day one. So she used her strategy to defeat the basically Road Warriors Legion of Doom team of Divine Kingdom. But I thought this was great. I liked how Mayu and Hanan knew early on that if they were going to get the win here, they were going to have to divide and conquer on Divine Kingdom. A little play on words. And, Mayu just using her experience that they would have to use a lot of double teaming, a lot of tag teamwork. And I said this when these blocks were announced, these teams were announced, like, as much as, like, Mayu's the leader of Stars. I don't think there's many people that are going to debate she's the best person in Stars. I don't think there's many people that are going to debate that Hazuki's number 2. But even if you put Mayu and Hazuki together, I think Mayu's best partner in Stars is Hanan. And this was clear here. The way that they're so seamlessly with their tag team moves, the way they go back and forth. Anytime Hanan, the younger Hanan, gets in trouble, Mayu would come in with the save. And then ultimately it was just turns into just Megan Bain and Micah just body slamming each other onto poor Hanan. It was like, here you go. You know, you want to be sexy Dynamite Princess number 2? Rumored. We're just going to slam each other on top of each other. But yeah, you made mention about it before. And I know when we filmed our alternate commentary the other day with Micah versus Suzuki, that Micah always seems to be leveling up, especially since like Himika retired. It's like, okay, now my tag partner has retired. There's something I need to do to level up. She had the attitude change, something with the hair color. She got a great push into made to the finals of the 5-star. She's doing this thing with Megan Bain, and now she has this gear that's very almost like, and it's like a Micah style, but almost in a Megan Bain style, where it's like, okay, now she would always be somebody that dabbled in the main event. Now it's somebody that really has that extra cool factor. And with that gear that she had on, not that her gear was bad before, but it's a completely another level here and just makes the Divine Kingdom thing work even more. It was just something extra that was added on. Great match. I like how if Mike and Mega Bain are going to be losing these matches, I don't think there's going to be many that they'll be losing by pinfall. So you want to keep them strong. You want to protect them using Mayu as sneaky Mayu for Hanan to really get the win. Was really, really smart. Not only that, Rob, Hanan, who took majority of the beating from Divine Kingdom, is really the one that gets her hand raised because she was the legal person. And we get to hear Hanan's theme play at the end of this great match. I mean, how much more can you want? Excellent stuff. 3 3/4 stars for me, good sir.
Yep, 3.5 from me. Again, similar to the Saki and Hanako situation, I did enjoy Mayu attempting that star spot where Hanan gets the advantage over Micah and Mayu charges Megan Bain on the apron, goes to knock her off, And Megan Bayne just no-sells it. And you see, like, Mayu just sort of cower backwards. Tries it again later on. Still doesn't work. And it's those little subtle things that build up the chemistry of a match. And yeah, ultimately it takes Mayu just being a little bit clever and literally lying on top of Micah and Megan Bayne and stopping them getting in to the ring for Hanan to get the victory via count out. Eye contacts are extremely entertaining to watch, and I think you're absolutely right. Their chemistry as a team is amazing. It's a shame that they broke up not broke up, but they separated Wingori for this tag league. But we've said it before that I think that Hanan is the natural successor to Mayu. And I think the more they tag together, the more you see that they are so similar. And for Tag League, it works. You've got two very similar wrestlers wrestling as a team. It works really well. I still think Divine Kingdom will top the block. I still think Divine Kingdom make it through to the final. I'd be very surprised if they don't. But overall, another really, really good match. I am just going to say before we get into these final two matches, I'm not going to go through the block standings simply because it's only night 2 and there's still teams that haven't wrestled at all yet. So O2 Line haven't had any matches. Cosmic Angels haven't had any matches. There's no point me sort of doing anything with that until we are a little bit deeper into the tournament, because everyone is either on 2 or 0 points, unless you're Crazy Star, who are on 3. Mei Sakurai and Mirai against Stars. What do you think about this partnership between Mei Sakurai and Mirai?
It's another one of those odd couples that just happen to seem to be working, because you have, Mirai, the hard-hitting Mirai, Wonder of Stardom champion, had to crawl and fight, to get to that championship. And ever since she has had that belt, beat Tam Nakano, show stealer, had a fantastic match with Momo Watanabe, is really putting on some of the best matches on some solid shows. And then you have Mei Sakurai, who is ever improving the Mei Sakurai character, the ladyship character, whether it's the promos after the matches, whether she wins or loses, whether it's the jacket, now the Mei Sakurai Okada dollars, or I should say, Okada has the Mei Sakurai dollars now, Rob. I think that's what it is. We saw Okada on Dynamite last night. And again, there's another wild scenario, Orange Cassidy, somebody I used to wrestle in warehouses with, and then he's wrestling in front of like 1 million people with Okada, Claudio, and Danielson. Anywho, another story for another day. And of course, Rob, she completes the ensemble with that crazy hat. And I think how this match finished, Rob, with the with her rolling up Kagama, with the my pan roll. I think Kagama was about to kick out, but when she was looking and she's blinded by Mei Sakurai's hat, which is probably at the timekeeper's table. And that's where I'm a huge FWC fan. That's where I stand corrected. But that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. That's why Kagama could not kick out if she was blinded by the sight of Mei Sakurai's hat, which we could not see because it was off camera. But to answer your question, it's an odd couple that seems to be working, and that just goes to show you the range and the talent of both Mirai and Mei Sakurai.
And I'd love to say that the odd couple partnership of Mei Sakurai and Mirai was sort of the dominating part of this match, but it wasn't. I thought Mei Sakurai and Koguma had some great chemistry, but it was that exchange between Mirai and Hazuki that just made you yearn for a white belt match between them. And I know it is not going to come, even though we've now got short-haired Hazuki, the pokey evolution of Hazuki. I just don't see it happening for a while, but good God, did I want it after this, because there was some beautifully destructive striking here.
Yeah, I agree. I think that match, Rob, I think it'll come after Hazuki gets her white belt run. I think they looked at that and they're like, again, what I think is going to happen, what I want to happen is Mina gets the belt at the end of the year, has a handful of title defenses, and then when they do the pay-per-view in Fukuoka, and they usually do it May or June, that's where Hazuki gets the strap. But yeah, we're absolutely throwing bombs at each other. And it's like, and you're watching it, and literally you have the first clothesline, the forearm exchange, and the big boot from Hazuki, and I'm like, of course, Matt, what did you expect? It's Mirai who's throwing maybe the best lariats in Japan since Stan Hansen. Oh, and it's Hazuki. And you know what Hazuki throws? She throws Hazuki. So it's like, of course, don't get me wrong, Kagama was great, Mei Sakurai was great, the chemistry is great. FWC as a team is one of the best tag teams in all of wrestling. But yeah, the heart of the match was definitely Mirai and Hazuki. And I know they had a match at last year's 5-star Grand Prix, which was great. But considering the fact that Hazuki's better now than she was a year ago, same thing for Mirai. You up the stakes by either putting it in a big, championship eliminator match, or for the white belt or red belt somewhere in the next year or so. I can't see that being nothing but a match of the year candidate. But yeah, excellent stuff from two teams, from all 4 wrestlers. But brother, I totally agree. I am super excited for Mirai Hazuki singles match somewhere soon.
And then we move on to the main event, Crazy Star versus Mafia Bella. And of course, you see Julia and Suzu Suzuki in the same ring, and you are just waiting for the violence and the brutality. But actually, everyone that I have seen talk about this match is actually talking about the exchanges between Mei Seira and Thekla, and with really, really good reason. These two were fantastic together. Mei Seira seems to be hitting another level, whereas Thekla really seems to be coming into her own for the first time since the injury. She's really sort of progressing into the wrestler that we know she can be.
Yeah, buddy, I totally agree with you. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Suzu Julia stuff was great, and it was expected. We had high expectations. But then when Thekla Mei Seira got in there, you're just like, okay, there's a reason why Mei Seira is high-speed champion, and I think she's going to take that belt. She's going to be around like the Natsu Starlight Kid Azumi level with that championship. And clearly it's like, okay, we can definitely give a title shot somewhere. Maybe at Dream Queendom. Maybe they go Thekla and Mei Seira, give them 9-10 minutes of this style of match. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic match. Julia and Thekla, not only do they look great together, they work great together. And Suzu Suzuki and Mei Seira are quickly becoming one of my favorite tag teams, not just in Stardom, but all of wrestling. I have to put this over, Rob. The match started with a phenomenal lockup. I will always put that over. Great lockup between Julia and Suzu Suzuki. I like how the double teamwork of Mafia Bella basically took Mei Seira out, and then Suzu Suzuki comes in with that big double spear. And then we get some great back and forth action. And I liked how Suzu is getting the striking advantage on in the middle of the match of Julia. And then Julia just baits her in to basically get into the knee bar, into the SDF. I always put over Julia's grappling. It's a very underrated aspect of her offense that I don't think she gets enough credit for, enough love for. She's such a great grappler, and I love how she baits her opponents in that like to use strikes, so she can throw that knee bar and to get into the STF that'll transition, into the Stealth Viper, the Bianca. I really, really enjoyed that. I like how Julia goes for the Glorious Driver, but then Suzu is able to avoid and hits a Poison Rana. And basically you have that big bump that kind of takes the two of them out. And then Mei Seira and Thekla, they go back in and they pick up where they left off in the beginning of the match. And then you get some high-speed action. I like how Mei Seira, obviously, when she first came back from Stardom, she was using the Rolling Star as a finish and that running low drop kick. I was like, okay, there's something else that she's missing. She's really good. But there's something else she needs, kind of almost like a big move. And here it is, the main event of a Korakuen show. You have the last 2 winners of the 5-star Grand Prix. You have former World of Stardom champion in Suzu Suzuki. But the match ends with her pinning Thekla with basically like a hammerlock Northern Lights bomb. And it's like her own version. We've seen lots of people do power bombs, have their own versions of it, work it a certain way, build it up a certain way. But she builds it up towards the end of the match, and then it can hit it, and then she gets some help from Suzu, and then is basically able to hit it. She basically goes into a hammerlock and then uses the hammerlock to transition into this beautiful Liger bomb. And if this is a move she's going to start using as a finish, especially now the fact she's a champion, I'm all for it. I thought Mei Seira was the MVP of this match. I thought all 4 ladies were terrific. This was, one of my favorite tag matches in Stardom this year. Great way to end a great show. And again, we talked about the attendance being less than 700. By the end of this show, especially with this main event, I can guarantee you there wasn't one person that went home disappointed, especially the way this match was. Thoroughly enjoyed this. This was a great match. I think somewhere down the line, we will do this one for an alternate commentary because I love tag team wrestling, partner. I had this at 4.25 stars. Loved it.
Yeah, I had it at 4 stars. Certainly one of, if not the best match of the tag league so far, probably just missing out to Eye Contact and Fukuoka Double Crazy on the opening night. But a very good match nonetheless. It's been a solid start to the tag league, been 3 notebook matches already. Obviously this one, Mafia Bella Crazy Star and Prominence from night 1, and Eye Contact and Fukuoka Double Crazy from night 1 as well. So if you're pressed for time, those are the matches. And for me as well, Divine Kingdom and Eye Contact, I'd go out of my way to go and see as well. We did have 2 title challenges, though, Matt, on this show. First off, Mirai said that she wanted a white belt match at Gold Rush. This was just after Mei Sakurai announced that there would be another Moneyball tournament at Gold Rush with 4 teams of 3 wrestlers. Of course, last year's tournament ended infamously after about 3 minutes when the ball fell down and broke on the canvas. So hopefully they will have sorted that out this year. Mirai said she'd love to win the 10 million yen, but unfortunately she wants a white belt match. So she wants a challenge, and Sayori Anu comes out and says, "I'll challenge you, I beat you in the 5-star." So that looks like it is going to be made official for Gold Rush, which means that your top 2 matches are going to be Tam versus Suzu and Mirai versus Sayori Ano, which, Jesus, that they are a 2 strong main event and semi-main. And then on top of it, Mei Seira made a challenge at the end of the show, sort of said, "I want my first defense on November 11th, which is the Edion Arena, the Gold Rush show. It's her debut, the anniversary of her debut, and it's going to be against Momoko Hanazono, who you may remember had a challenge against Azumi at last year's Gold Rush, almost a year to the day since her last challenge. So that will also be a Gold Rush. So the Gold Rush card at the moment looks like this. Tam and Suzu, Mirai and Sayori Ano, Mei Seira versus Momoko Hanazono, assuming that Hanazono agrees, which I don't think Mei Seira calls her out if it's not going to happen.
I'm good.
And then the Moneyball tournament as well. I think this Gold Rush card, Matt, might be all right. What do you think?
Yeah, it looks absolutely stacked. But real quick, Rob, there was actually 3 challenges for championship matches on this show. Hanako challenged Rina for a New Blood show as well.
Yes, she did.
So that'll be a fun match. But yeah, obviously those 2 matches are going to be the 2 big ones. This Gold Rush show looks absolutely fantastic. And I think I have a feeling that you'll see 1 or 2 of the wrestlers that were injured during the 5-star appear at the show as we start to build towards the end of the year show. I would not be shocked if you see, with Tam, I'm assuming having a successful title defense where you see maybe Saya Kamatani and or Utami come out and basically say, "Hey, look, we could have had a shot to win the 5-star Grand Prix had we not get injured." And I would not mind seeing, again, if there's going to be a Cork and Hull show somewhere in the beginning of December, you do a Saya versus Utami match and the number 1 contenders match, and the winner wrestles Tam at the end of the year show. So yeah, things are definitely heating up. That card looks really, really good. Tam versus Suzu, fingers crossed Tam is okay and could go. And then Sayori Ano versus Mirai, which they did tease at, I believe, one of the last Corkin shows for the 5-star Grand Prix, with Sayori getting the win over Mirai at that Corkin show, and then basically kind of was touched the Wonder Stardom Championship, basically teasing, saying she wanted a title shot. And here's where it is, my friend. They planted the seeds, and now we watch this tree grow, and we're going to watch this awesome match coming up in about a month's time. So yeah, I'm super excited for the pay-per-view coming up about a week before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just quickly close out this show then with a couple of previews. Obviously, this weekend is Stardom Halloween Dark Night. I don't think it's going to be a conventional Stardom pay-per-view. I certainly don't think we're going to be getting anything match quality-wise that we are used to. However, there is a 5-way on that show, which could be very, very entertaining. The full card's been announced. I'll just read through it now. Coffin Explosion match, Mayu Iwatani versus Crow A versus Crow B versus Crow C. Obviously, the Crows that attacked Mayu at the last Korakuen. Mirai versus Halloween Mask, whoever that is. We've then got a four-way between Saori Anou, Mei Sakurai, Natsu Tora, and Hazuki. It's a Halloween weapons allowed, because absolutely what you need is to give Hazuki a scythe. Falls Count Anywhere match, Thekla versus Mei Seira versus Suzu Suzuki versus Koguma versus Momo Watanabe. That could be a closet banger, so keep your eyes out for that match. That could be really tasty. We've then got the Zombie Lumberjack match. Initially, this was a 1-on-2 with Mina Shirakawa taking on Dump Matsumoto and Zap. Waka Tsukiyama's been added to that match as Mina's tag partner. So the Zombie Lumberjack match, you've got the Mina Shirakawa and Waka Tsukiyama team versus Dump Matsumoto and Zap. I believe the rules are that if you get thrown out, the zombies attack you. Basically, I believe that's the... I mean,
Jesus Christ. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's so campy. It's so campy. Yeah, I thought there was rules on the Stardom website. Maybe there isn't. So yeah, that's that match. There's also the Zombie Rumble, which at the moment has Karma, Ram Kai Chao, second generation Sexy Dynamite Princess. You've also got Stardom Big, Stardom Tall, and Stardom Giant machines that are also announced for that, as is Fukigen Death. So she's winning. And then, just tagged on the end, for absolutely no reason, we have got a Goddess of Stardom tag match. Because that fits in. Syuri and Saki Kashima versus the Prominence team of Risa Seira and Kurumi Hiragi, which is, again, going to be a great match, but why tag it onto this? You've got literal Coffin Explosion matches, Halloween Zombie Lumberjack matches. Sure. Anyway, that is this weekend at Takikawa Stage Garden, the 29th of October, and we'll, of course, be talking about it next week. Also, we have got a show on the 28th, the Saturday, in Numazu. It's Tag League Night 4, and the card is as follows. Obviously, this has had to be altered because of Lady C's injury. So we've got a three-way Amisori versus Thekla versus Miyu Amasaki. Singles match with Azumi taking on Natsu Tora. A tag team match, Mayu Iwatani and Hanan taking on Mirai and Hanako. 6-woman tag, Mei Seira, Suzu Suzuki and Megan Bain against Hazuki, Koguma and Saya Ida. That's going to be quite an interesting match. We've then got another tag with Maika and Mei Sakurai taking on Momo Watanabe and Natsu Tora. And then in your only Goddess of Stardom tag match on this card, you have got Syuri and Saki Kashima taking on the Moonlight Venus team of Waka Tsukiyama and Mina Shirakawa. There are other dates announced for the Tag League shows on the 3rd and the 4th of November, but the cards have not been announced yet. As I mentioned before, probably because of all the injuries, and they're going to see how Tam is, they're going to see how Lady C is, to see how those cards play out. Matt, before we sign off, I suppose we should probably do an EO watch.
Absolutely, good sir. Thank you for the throwback, my friend. Yes, the EO watch. Now, if this is your first time on the Stardom Cast, welcome. We have a lot of new listeners as of late. We do, even though Io Shirai is not a part of Stardom, we feel because she is a legend of Stardom, and the fact that she is prominently featured on WWE SmackDown, that we will do an EO watch. Now, last week, because I was away at New York Comic-Con, I could not do the EO watch, so I said I would do the 13th and the 20th back-to-back. And the 13th will take me all of about 8 seconds, as Io came out with Bayley for a match with Zelina Vega. Io helped Bayley beat Zelina Vega. And then Charlotte Flair came out to beat up Io and Bayley, which sets up for the championship match that happened this past Friday on WWE SmackDown, as Io Shirai taking on Charlotte Flair. Now, not only, Rob Goodman, was it the main event of this show, but they had a phenomenal video package highlighting both Io and Charlotte, even to Michael Cole when he made the announcement when Io first won the championship back at SummerSlam, where he did say, "From the world of Stardom to star of the world." So we got a little more Stardom love on WWE SmackDown. This was a fantastic match. I like how Charlotte, right out the gate, goes to pick Io's leg to set up for the figure 8, basically saying, like, look, you may be the champion now, but I'm pretty much the person that's been running this division for like 7 or 8 years. Bailey distracts Charlotte. That gives Io the advantage. And Io hits what I still think is the greatest suicide dive in all of wrestling. She follows that up with the picture-perfect springboard dropkick. Two of them go back and forth. Io does a great job targeting Charlotte's legs, and Charlotte does a good job keeping Io at bay with chops. And then Charlotte just starts going to her power advantage, uses a whole bunch of fall-away slams and even one from the top rope. There's this really cool spot where Io gets the advantage back on Charlotte. Charlotte goes to the outside. She tries for her Karana running off the apron. Charlotte catches her and then just has her in powerbomb position. But instead of dropping her on powerbomb on the floor, she drops her face first onto the apron. They go back and forth. Io again gets the advantage back using the speed, using the La Mystica into the crossface that we've been seeing her use quite a bit on TV the last handful of months. Io goes back again to the springboard dropkick, but Charlotte in this time catches her and puts her in a high angle Boston Crab, which I thought was really, really cool. Io then quickly rolls her up for a 2 count. The crowd really, really bit coming off the Boston Crab, how she was able to transition her body into the roll up. I thought that was really good. Charlotte Flair Io tries for the moonsault. Charlotte gets her feet up, and when Io comes down with that moonsault, Charlotte really caught her pretty good, and then follows up with that big spear that only gets her 2 count because Bailey interferes, putting Io's foot on the rope. Charlotte Flair goes after Bailey. However, when Charlotte goes after Bailey, it becomes a huge smudge. The referee, of course, is not paying attention to Io, trying to break up the fight on the floor with Charlotte and Bailey. That allows Io to pick up the WWE Women's Championship. Charlotte then goes back to the spear, the move that almost had her the match 1 minutes prior, and she gets clocked with the championship belt, allowing Io to get the 3 count. Excellent match, not as good as the match she had with Asuka the month before, and I'm going to get into that in a moment. I had it at 4 stars. It went a shade over 14 minutes. Again, the main event on a SmackDown show on network TV. That's a pretty big deal. I understand the whole cheating to have Io beat Charlotte Flair. I get it. This isn't Stardom. We're having clean finishes in these big championship matches. But I kind of wish that after Io hit Charlotte with the championship belt, that Charlotte would have kicked out and then Io would have went to the top rope and hit the moonsault. That's the big move. That's her big move. She went for it once and she missed. I was kind of just hoping that they might have been able to drag that out a little bit longer and have Charlotte have a little bit more fight, and then have Io hit those 2 moves back to back. Again, all in all, great match. Again, 4 stars. I'm going to close it at this, Rob Goodwin. I was handed some numbers. You know I like numbers. Now, back last month, September 27th, 2023, Io versus Asuka drew 2.37 million viewers. So Io's match with Asuka, that match had 2.3 million viewers. This match with Charlotte, 2.2 million viewers. So Io in these championship matches on SmackDown is drawing over 2.25 million viewers. Now, which is absolutely outstanding. You know where I stand with Io Shirai. Again, if this is your first time on the podcast, Io Shirai is my all-time favorite women's wrestler. Still in her prime. Her run in Stardom, if you have not seen it, go back, watch the matches with Mayu, Meiko Satomura, if you can find it, Kairi, Momo, so on and so forth. I hope Io Shirai, and a huge, huge, huge high standard when it comes to not only just women professional wrestling or Joshi pro wrestling in general. So the fact that Io is drawing these numbers really blows my mind. But here's the one thing, Rob, that I was really, after I looked at the numbers, I had to look at it twice. Charlotte Flair is the biggest star in women's wrestling history. What I mean by that, I'm not saying she's the best, she's the biggest star. She's wrestled for the biggest company the longest. She's their most pushed wrestler. She's won that championship, 14, 15 times, whatever it is, have you. And there's a reason why they push and they have so much investors. Her presence, her in-ring work, she's fantastic. Again, she's the most pushed wrestler and probably the biggest women's wrestling star in the history of wrestling. Her match with Charlotte was 2.26. Her match with Asuka was 2.37. She had a higher drawing with Asuka than she did Charlotte. And the show with Charlotte had John Cena and Roman on it. And I don't think the show with Asuka had Roman on it. So the fact that you had the two biggest stars in WWE over the last 15 years or so on the same show, but Io's drawing a bigger number with Asuka than she is Charlotte. And I found that, again, both numbers are phenomenal. Over 2.25 million viewers. But the fact she had a higher drawing with Asuka, and I thought the match was better with Asuka. I was like, that is a very interesting stat. So, I just over the moon that Io's drawing over 2 million people for her matches.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think unfortunately Charlotte, we'll sign off in a second. I think Charlotte has unfortunately been saddled with the whole over-pushed sort of mantra that John Cena was also saddled with, that Roman Reigns also, it took him turning heel and forming the bloodline to get rid of. So maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe the whole Charlotte wins lol has affected the ratings in that. Maybe it just doesn't draw as much anymore because of that, because we've seen Charlotte in all of the title matches. We've seen her win. We've seen her do it on all manner of stages. Maybe it's something to do with that. I don't know. Anyway, let's sign off. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on today's episode. I put a call out to all of you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and boy howdy did you listen. We have gone from 200 subscribers to 917 in the space of a week. That is absolute insanity. Thank you to everyone that has done it. Now, I have another task for you. No, if you could watch something on our YouTube channel, it would really help us out. The more we watch, the more we're able to get money-wise. We're just being greedy, but it would be great if you could watch something on our YouTube channel. But to everyone that's subscribed, thank you so much. Massively, massively appreciate it. Thank you to our Patreon members, patreon.com/the Stardomcast. Your support and your contributions mean everything. Thank you so much. If you haven't already subscribed to the podcast, you can check us out wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow us on social media at the Stardomcast. You can talk to me on Twitter at @RealRobGoodwin. Matt Turner, sign us off, good sir.
Absolutely, you guys. You can find me anywhere in the world yelling, "Bye, boy." Gotta get the high spot in, brother. Questions, comments, suggestions, anything you want to talk about. Matt Turner, OF, on the Instagram, on the TikTok, and on the X or the Twitter or whatever it's called. If social media is not your thing and you want to chat with me, the StardomCast22@gmail.com is the best way to get a hold of me via email. Once again, folks, we cannot say thank you enough for this phenomenal support. I mean, we have seen numbers are constantly growing. Me and Rob talk about the numbers off air, either, via text message or whatever, every week, every month, every quarter. It just seems like it's growing and growing and growing. And the past 7-8 days, it's like, holy geez, this is incredible. And this is all because of you spreading the fantastic word of not only the Stardom Cast, but this fantastic company that we all love called Stardom. And we cannot say thank you enough. And let's keep pushing forward. We just hit 50,000 downloads. Let's go for 100,000. We're about to hit 1,000 subscribes to YouTube. Let's hit 2,000. Why not? With your support, we're going to get there. Like I always say, folks, we can't do this without you, because it's just not my podcast. It's our podcast, because we're all together. Everybody's different. Everybody's special.